ready to talk to you about a bunch of things, but I've been paying attention to all the Webb telescope.
Oh my gosh.
Fascinating.
It's all that.
Could you please explain the difference in the ability of the capabilities of this telescope versus what we've had previously?
Yeah, so first of all, it's all that. And the excitement was in part because so much could have gone wrong with this thing. And the fact that nothing went wrong, we were ecstatic.
Could you explain?
Yeah. So one of the great challenges that we face is I put a telescope in orbit that's bigger than the rocket that's going to launch it. Is that even possible? And the Hubble telescope, what is set the size of that flash diameter? That's the biggest mirror of the space shuttle. That's what set the size of the telescope. Big as it was, we would have made it bigger if the space shuttle were bigger. Now, I don't know if you've seen the Hubble telescope. There's a replica of it at the Air Space Museum. It's there hanging from the ceiling right before it about the size of a brain box. So, the space shuttle deployed brain box into orbit, which is the Hubble Space Telescope. And the value of Hubble was that you can date rise frequency over certain levels. And as a result, you can live with that culture. Where people became of age, only ever knowing
post a tweet at the end of the Stanley Cup, and I say, the Stanley Cup and the Hubble telescope had the same designer. Just
Really?
kidding. No, I'm just kidding. No, just look at the thing. It looks like the Stanley Cup.
A little bit.
A lot.
I wouldn't confuse the two if they were in a room together.
So, here's the thing. So, notice the Hubble telescope, its diameter is the spherical shape that fits in the spherical payload of the space shuttle. So now we want to put a bigger telescope into orbit. How do you do that? And so this is where you need engineers, clever engineers. We say, here's a rocket, one of the most powerful rockets we can use, but the fairing, that's the place where you hold the payload, can only be so big. And they say, all right, why don't we fold the telescope? Now, how are you going to fold the mirror? Oh, you turn the mirror into segments, hexagons. Hexagons, one of only 3 shapes that can tile a surface: a square, a triangle, and a hexagon. No other shape can do this. So, well, you can have other irregular shapes that can match up, tessellate, what it's called. But if you have what's called a regular polygon, so here in the image there, what you can see, it's all of the mirror segments. Those fold into a narrow structure along with the unfurling solar panels as well as the heat shields. Notice it was made at Northrop Grumman. By the way, Grumman has a long history in helping NASA put stuff in space. The LEM, Lunar Excursion Module, remember that? The thing that landed on the moon? That was designed and built in Bethpage, Long Island at Grumman Aerospace. And so this is, and you go to Bethpage today, people still stand tall because they had aunts and uncles who worked on that project. Space is a force of nature unto itself in our sense of pride, in our sense of achievement, in our sense of what operates on civilization to take us into the future, lest we continue to regress and move back into the cave, which we came. There it is, all folded up in the image we now see for those who are watching this. And you slip that into a fairing, and then you launch it 1,000,000 miles from Earth, opposite the sun from Earth, and it unfurls like petals of a flower.
Is there an animation of how
Oh
that
yeah,
goes down?
slow-mo animation. Sure, he can find it, and it's the deployment, how it deployed as it was on its way to its location, which is one of the Lagrangian points in orbit. For every 2 objects that orbit each other, there are 5 Lagrangian points. So here we are unfolding. So there we have solar panels coming out the side, and there's the communication antenna, and it has a unique set of baffles that shield it from sunlight, so that the mirror and the detector can be very, very cold, because it's designed, it's specially tuned to observe infrared that comes to us from space. And infrared, as you may know, we normally associate it with heat. Well, how am I going to detect something that's very, very cold in space if my detector is hotter than what I'm trying to detect? You can't, there's no way to see something that is warmer than the temperature of your detector. So your detector has to be very cold, extremely cold. So these are the baffles, and there are many, many layers. So that when sunlight hits one layer, that layer absorbs it and re-radiates it in both directions, forward and back. So there's less that goes to the next layer. So then the next layer re-radiates it, and by the time it gets to the 4th layer, hardly anything goes towards the telescope. And so it's insulated, and it drops to deep space cold temperatures. And it's literally where the sun don't shine right now.
So the solar panels are getting the solar energy from the bottom.
Yeah, because that's the direction the sun is, correct?
So it radiates off the bottom, and those are the things that protect it. And look, we see how all those layers.
All the layers, yeah.
Amazing.
And it's specifically tuned for the infrared part of the spectrum. You remember the spectrum, so you have like visible light, right? Roy G. Biv, right? If you want to remember, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, light. Those are the parts of the spectrum you can see. But there's light outside of this. There's like beyond the violet, there's ultraviolet. You get that, and below the red is infrared, not visible to the human eye. By the way, insects can see ultraviolet. That's why bug zappers work. You put a UV light. The bugs say, "Oh my gosh, I love ultraviolet," and then they get zapped. And we're old enough to remember before there were bug zappers, you'd had a picnic bulb for twilight picnics, and it was like a yellow bulb, kind of yellow amber bulb. It was a bug bulb. It was sold as bug bulb. It's not that they repelled bugs; it's that the bugs couldn't even see it because their whole vision is shifted towards the ultraviolet, and it leaves out the deep red. Yeah, so that's evidence we're smarter than bugs.
There's one piece, luckily.
One piece of evidence that we're smarter than bugs. So just to bring that to a closure, the earliest forming galaxies in the universe radiated a lot of ultraviolet. So you might say, well, let's get an ultraviolet telescope. Because 14 billion years later, the expansion of the universe has redshifted the ultraviolet into the infrared. So if you want to see the birth of galaxies, you got to know what they look like in the here and the now. And in the here and the now, it's in the infrared. So this is a telescope specifically tuned to see galaxies born at the edge of the universe. And infrared also allows you to see deep into gas clouds.
Now, when they're showing you an image like
So right here,
this
this is the pillars of creation, which were so named at the time Hubble first attempted this. We were gaga over the Hubble image of this. And now, like the JWST, oh my God. For those who are more prone to religion, some have called this the hand of God. Usually if you look at the pillars, you can kind of picture like a thumb, fingers. So, but regardless, this is nearby. This is the telescope peering deep into gas clouds that otherwise would enshroud what's going on. And you get to see stars being born.
That's literally my background right now.
And so what's
behind the chat
about JWST
from the web, from James Webb.
For the edge of the universe,
The hand of God.
the galaxies, is the same properties you would want to see the birth of stars. A star is born right in front of your nose that would otherwise be cloaked by gas. And infrared penetrates those clouds and enables you to see it as though the cloud isn't even there. And you already know this because if you're driving through fog, Okay? You put on your fog lights. The fog lights are not blue. They're like reddish, amber. Okay? That improves your ability to see through the fog. If we could see infrared, that's the kind of light you'd use, then you wouldn't even know the fog was there. That's why self-driving cars would be amazing. It won't matter if it's fog. You'll be able to see everything.
This guy's such an idiot.
Infrared sensors. The fog is irrelevant. They could drive 100 miles an hour in dense fog, and all the cars will see each other. And they want to change lanes, they tell other cars, I'm going to change lanes. We'll park for them, open up, and we won't get 40,000 deaths a year, as we currently do.
Fuck this
from
guy.
automobile accidents.
Fuck you. I'm always gonna drive my car, you little
Now,
fucking
how
bitch,
much
Neil
bigger
deGrasse.
is this telescope?
You little fucker.
So, it's about, so you want to think about collecting area, and I forgot the exact number, something like 8 times around there, more powerful in the sense of it can see things 8 times dimmer. Yeah, there you go. So that's it's about 2.5 squared. It's about 8 times the area.
And the technology obviously is improved as well. So, like the ability that.
Well, our detectors are better, and let me remind you that when the Hubble was designed, it was designed in like the 1980s, and it was scheduled to go up, and then we had the Challenger accident, and that delayed the shuttle program. So there's Hubble sitting there in mothballs with an old Microsoft chip, and by the time it launched, it was already not as fast as it could have been. And so the very first servicing mission swapped all that out, put in better methods and tools for measuring what it is we always needed to do. So one sad part about this is that it's not serviceable. We have no access to that point in space 1 million miles from the moon. We haven't left low Earth orbit since 1972. We're not going out 1 million miles from Earth to fix a telescope. So that's unfortunate. Maybe a robotic fix, I don't know, to refill some of the fuel. It needs fuel to.
Pretty good run, 54.
Didn't it get hit by a micrometeor?
Yeah, well, that's the brakes when you're in space. Yeah, but it's not. It doesn't affect the overall performance.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, it's huge, and the micrometers will do small damage, but you don't want it in the middle of a meteor storm. That would be
Right.
Totally bad.
And
Yeah.
do they obviously know like where some of the asteroid belts are and where some of the
Yeah, so
nearby Earth objects are?
Yeah, so in this context, so first, most asteroids are in the asteroid belt. So it's between Mars and Jupiter. So I have an asteroid.
Can't you like get a star named after you online?
Not legal, not
legally.
authentically.
Just get robbed. Just pretend.
They'll send you a
it's
map
yours.
with your name drawn in the map.
So you pay for a piece of paper.
Yeah, they claim that it gets registered with the astrophysicists, but it doesn't. No, there's only one way to install it, by committee and by traditions and this sort of thing. They're fascinating traditions. So planets are named after Roman gods, and planet moons are named after Greek characters in the life of the Greek god, who's the counterpart to that Roman god. So Jupiter, for example, one of its moons is Ganymede. Ganymede was the manservant of Zeus, and Zeus and Jupiter were gods in Greek and Roman. And not only that, about half, somewhere around there, of all the stars in the night sky that have names, have Arabic names. So in my field, we have deep respect for people who made great inroads into understanding the natural universe. And the golden age of Islam 1,000 years ago made material contributions to that. And of course, Greek and Roman legends and this sort of thing. So where they are in its influence on Western culture. So, yeah, no, the universe is a fun place.
Pretty fun place.
Oh, yeah.
So this James Webb Telescope, in terms of its ability to recognize things, like what magnitude of improvement are you talking about from the
Factor of
the
10.
Hubble?
Yeah, factor of 10. Yeah, easily. That's right. Well, a factor of 10 for the things Hubble could see, but it's incalculable when it sees things that Hubble could have never seen, because Hubble was not tuned for the infrared. So then you can't even compare it. It's a complete other window opened up to the universe for you.
So what has changed?
Yo,
in
I saw
terms of
someone
our
wrote something.
understanding? The web has been
Yo, what's up, Anomaly? How you doing, man?
the million-mile orbit, or however far away it is, for how long now?
Well, it got there, and then we did some engineering. So I guess a year and a half. Yeah.
And what has changed in our understanding?
So that's been people's first question, and what I want to do is temper
I hope so.
to say something a little different. So yes, we expect
Ha.
James Webb to make great discoveries.
You mean skip playing it? Yeah,
But
I
the
might
first
skip
order
playing
of
it.
business is hardly ever, let's discover something new today. It's, here's something that we have limited understanding of. Let's improve on it. And in so doing, we deepen our understanding of how things work in the universe. That doesn't always involve overturning a previous idea or discovering something that nobody ordered. Right? That will happen. We fully expect that to happen. But we targeted parts of the sky initially because we know other telescopes have gone there before. And we're going to say, how can we further advance and deepen our understanding? One thing it's going to be able to do, and it has already done, we have, you know how many planets there are?
I
I
skipped
don't know how many of
52.
your audience was born
Is that a Canada emote?
after 1995.
That's dope, man. That's a dope emote, man.
Quite a few. Okay. So I will take this opportunity
That's a sick
to
emote.
knight them. Generation X.
Andy Ray Canada.
1995, was the
That's
first
jokes.
exoplanet discovered, planet orbiting
Nice, bro.
a star. And I'll never forget that because it was my first time on national television. I was freshly minted as director of the Hayden Planetarium in New York City. And NBC sent New York City is the media news headquarters
Thanks,
for
homie.
all the networks. So
She's a
NBC sent
cosplayer.
an action cam. They interviewed me because of my title. not 'cause they
Why am I
knew
not surprised?
crap who I was. My title was director of the planetarium. And so I gave my best professorial reply. I said, well, the Doppler shift, this is how it's discovered and what we do and how we measure
Too
it.
fucking wide, way too wide.
And I was describing the fact that when you discover these planets, you don't actually see the planet. You see the effect of the planet's gravity on the host star. And so if you watch the host star is like Gyges. Okay? Just a little bit in response to the planet going back and forth.
Yeah, this guy, he's smart in
Measuring the stars.
astrophysics,
So I motioned that.
but everything else, he's an idiot and a
that evening on
jackass.
the evening news,
He should definitely stay to
that's all I
fucking
showed, was me jiggling my
astrophysics
hips. I said, oh my
and astronomy.
Okay, that's how you're gonna do this. Okay. You don't
Thing
want me
is-
to be Professor Neil.
His
you
issue,
want me to be Sound
yeah, oh,
Neil.
he's such an
All
asshole.
right, so from then on,
But he's
practicing sound
smart in
bites.
astrophysics.
And a soundbite's like 3 sentences.
Oh, so you recognize that this is the format now.
And other stuff.
And I
That's
said,
what I mean.
I can't
People,
just
they
give them my
lose their
stuff.
credibility when they try to
Professor
step out of their own
it has to
domain.
look like their media.
When they
And
think,
I-
oh, I'm a
and
scientist,
went
therefore
home,
I
stood
know
in front of
everything
the
about
mirror,
everything.
And had people just shout out things to me.
It's like, no, you know, you're an expert in your specific field.
And I would come up with like 3 sentences that are interesting, make you smile, and be
So don't
tasty enough to want to tell someone else. The
Take
anatomy.
people's rights away, you asshole.
Try it. Say anything in the whole universe.
How do we know how
Just one
Oh,
word.
this is the
Just
fucking
say it.
53, man.
The Big
This is
Bang.
it, homie.
Big Bang,
This is for anomaly, dude.
the birth of space-time energy,
This is fucking it.
and everything we know and love about
Me bad mouthing fucking Neil.
occurred 14
Grass Tyson.
billion years
Too
ago,
wide, too fucking wide.
and we have no idea how
Too wide. That was a fucking clone. That might be it, but it was too wide at the end.
as we will.
That might be it, man.
I read an article.
That's my soundbite. for
That's
the Big
good.
Bang.
It's a good soundbite.
Yeah.
I read an article.
Oh,
on the
that
Webb
sucks.
Telescope, and what they were taking into consideration is the
Damn it.
possibility that the Big Bang may be incorrect, and that the universe might be larger and older than we think.
It's good. It was a good read, though. It's a good side.
I hesitate to ask what pages on the internet you hang out on.
It was a
Okay.
legit. It wasn't saying the universe is older. It's
Yeah.
saying
Oh, that's
as
way too fucking
more
early.
Data and new information comes in, there is a distinct possibility that the Big Bang
Sucks,
might just
man.
be.
That was it, dude.
It just might explain the reach of the technology.
I think I went too
and
wide
not
at the end
actual
there.
Scale of the universe itself.
Okay, so the way to think about this is, and
Played
this is
it
the way
safe.
science has worked since basically the year 1600, where Galileo sort of starts codifying what people
53,
knew
I know.
probably should be
Thanks,
happening,
man.
but no one really
I know what it
did
was. I think it
on
was at the
large
very
scale.
end.
If you have an idea about something,
I gotta
you
go
can
all the
test
way
it
to that fourth
multiple
corner.
ways and get other people to
I'm
test
not.
it.
I'm
And the
cutting
tests
off early.
Give you consistent results. You have a new understanding of
I'm
the
stopping
universe.
early.
When that happens,
Or I'm pulling away early.
knowledge of the universe doesn't go away. It doesn't get undone. What happens typically is you have a deeper understanding of the universe in which that understanding gets embedded. And you realize that you only
Zip.
understood a small part of a larger whole. But the small parts you did understand, where you had multiple experiments that confirmed it, that doesn't change. So the cleanest example of this, and I'll get back to your question,
Stuck.
is Newton's laws of motion and gravity.
I was just stuck, but
He,
might be fast enough.
Did anyone see anything
Pretty
move
fast
faster
gate,
than a
if I
galloping
remember
horse
right.
in his day? Probably not. And so the
That was
Newton's
way
laws
better.
of motion and gravity worked. They worked not only for galloping horses, it worked for the moon in orbit around the Earth, and the Earth in orbit
That's
around
not
the
it.
Sun, and Jupiter's moons in orbit around Jupiter, right? And for the planets. So, okay, but wait a minute. It doesn't work for
Yo, we're
Mercury.
pretty close, man.
Mercury's orbit is not following Newton's laws.
We're pretty close,
Is
dude.
something wrong with the data? Let's check it.
It was a pretty
It is
bad
correct.
gate. The gate, I got
Oh
stuck.
my gosh, what's happening? Einstein comes
I
along.
cheat? No, I didn't
Says,
cheat,
have a
but I
new
waited a
understanding
frame
of
to,
gravity and
for
a
it to
new
line. You know what I
understanding
mean?
of motion.
And it
And
was
it
too slow.
accounts for this weirdness in Mercury's orbit.
What was the weirdness?
Its shape was not exactly what Newton's laws of gravity would give you. Its shape could only be accounted for when you throw in Einstein's theory of general relativity.
Yeah, Einstein was
Because
amazing.
the sun's gravity is so monstrous, and Mercury's orbiting close enough to it that it's being influenced by extra phenomenon going on in the universe that's the product of very high and significant gravity. And so then do we throw Newton out the window? No, actually. You know what Newton's laws are? They're what Einstein's laws look like
Was I stuck there?
when you put in low speeds and low gravity. If you put in low speeds, they become Newton's laws. In that limit. Newton's laws don't stop working where they used to work. Apollo to the moon used only Newton's laws. Because Einstein didn't matter at those scales. The moon and Earth and rockets, we're not going fast enough for any of that to matter. But when you start going fast enough, you cannot
He
use
was all
Newton's
right.
laws. You have to use a deeper understanding. Now, where does Einstein take us?
Einstein.
You go into the center of a black hole, you get black holes from Einstein. Center of a black hole is a singularity. All the theories say the matter occupies zero volume, thereby having infinite density. And that's kind of weird. What? No, you can't have infinite. No. That's a limit of Einstein's theory. That's where it breaks down. There's some have joked that's where God divides by zero. Remember in math class, you can't divide by zero.
Right.
It's not defined or not allowed. So in Einstein's equation, we're dividing by zero
What?
at the
I
singularity.
just so dumb.
So we all know
Been more than
as
already,
brilliant
yeah.
as Einstein was, and as successful as his general theory of relativity has been, it has limits. And one limit is the center of a black hole, and another limit is the very birth of the universe itself. Getting back to your question, the Big Bang. So, we have top people working on trying to resolve this singularity problem. And in so doing, you get to some ideas that, well, maybe our Big Bang, because the Big Bang is not going to go away. All the data support this. So now I've got this Big Bang thing, okay? And, well, is this embedded in something bigger? Ooh. So when you put like quantum physics and general relativity and you try to come up with some bigger understanding, deeper understanding, string theorists have been all into this. You get a multiverse. We didn't pull that out of our ass. That came out of the equations. So how old is the multiverse? I don't know. It's definitely older than our universe because it birthed our universe and it births other universes and it births the way the equations drive it, an infinity of universes.
Terrible.
This is the idea that maybe there's a version of us in another where I'm bald and you got the afro and but everything else is the same.
And also a version where everything's the same.
Where everything would be the same, yes.
Everything you've ever said has been said before exactly in the same order.
Correct. There's no reason to presume that everything in this universe isn't or hasn't already played out.
Wow.
in the exact way.
Did I get
in
stuck
another
there?
one of these infinite
And
universes.
in an
think I got
infinite
stuck.
number of different ways.
It wasn't 53
Correct.
pace
And
anyways, but I
so
got stuck. I think.
that is what comes out of the equation.
You gotta learn
so that
it.
makes the Big Bang a kind of a small part of a much larger whole. And so, yeah, we're ready for that.
Yeah,
But the fact that the universe had a beginning 14 billion years ago, and there's the cosmic microwave background, all of these features are intact. They're not going to all of a sudden.
So is Neil
not
deGrasse Tyson
apply.
saying that
That's my point. That's
I've
my
already
answer to you.
accomplished
So
damn
great.
53
Thing that happened 14 billion years ago.
in an
What
alternate
is the
universe?
predominant theory of why?
So this multiverse concept gives us a reason why. Okay, so
Terrible.
it's like imagine you're
It
rolling
is.
around in a basin, okay, and you're stable there, you're just fine, but then something kicks you out of the basin, and you didn't know that there's a huge hill to roll down after you come out of that basin. But you didn't know that. You thought everything was just fine. You roll down that hill, you're gaining energy. At the bottom of the hill, something stops you. And then where does all that energy go? One of the hypotheses, and I'm highly simplifying here, is that the energy gained by rolling down a hill, and these are energy hills that would exist in this higher dimensional space that we're talking about. That energy has to manifest in that object somehow, and it becomes an explosion. It gives birth, with enough energy, it gives birth to matter, everything that we know and love, and it expands. Because when you concentrate that much energy in a small spot, that's the only thing you can do.
I understand that you're simplifying it, but I don't understand.
Simplified it in the sense that by using this basin analogy and rolling down a hill, that they're equations of. The
Oh, that was a
energies
really good
of a
stairs.
system.
I don't think it was fast enough, but that
This
was
is
really
called
good stairs.
A false vacuum. So you can be in a place that's not the true bottom energy state of the system,
That's funny.
but you think
That's funny,
everything's
bro.
fine.
Sorry.
And- but it's not. And so
Good joke.
if you
Good
move
joke.
around among
I believe in
these
you, my man.
hills and valleys, you end up birthing universes out the other side. And this multiverse
You're
concept
fucking.
actually delivers this.
You're
for you.
IT,
Solely
man.
for free.
You're
That-
the.
that
You're the.
thought
You're the.
that the Big Bang
You're the king
is
of
just
the-
one of many
Of the society,
events
man.
that
This is
happen
your
in the
moment.
multiverse.
Correct. And not only that,
Sure, you can definitely get a nice
that
lass.
other Big Bang events
Just invite her to the beach.
might have a slightly different laws of physics in it.
Invite her to the Bobby.
So you
With
wanna
the
watch out for
Fosters.
that if you cross over from one universe to the other, and the charge on the electron is slightly different, you could all your atoms could just scatter or compress into a pile of goo. Yeah, so take something to test first.
Yeah, send a
So
chicken out.
dumb. It's not it.
Chickens get no respect. Whatever happened to guinea pigs?
So dumb.
Well, guinea pigs are cute, they have fur.
They're cute and furry.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Chickens are way easier to send
I
to
spent
space.
a whole section in this book talking about people who love animals and want to care for them and don't want to eat them, but they only love ones that are cuddly.
Oh, yeah,
you
for
make
sure.
a plush toy out of it.
My agent said that. She knows I hunt. She's like, you should hunt pigs because they're ugly.
Ah!
I'm like, how dare you? First of all, domesticated pigs are adorable.
They are. in
Yeah,
fact.
domesticated
got a great
dogs
personality,
are ugly
man.
too, because they're desperate.
In fact, I have a voice cameo of a pig
And you're smart.
in a Disney XD cartoon
funny.
called Gravity Falls. It's a farmhouse and there's a pig there. And the pig eats some slop that the kids are told.
I'll be your wingman.
And so they bought it as a fan or something. So they went to sleep, put in a slop.
Oh, the
on
boost.
their
This is
forehead,
it. I'm not even
thinking it's
memeing.
gonna go ahead and make them smart.
Come on,
But
baby.
The pig sees it on their forehead. And
Oh, I
rips it off
suck.
their forehead.
I suck
And
so
then
much,
overnight,
guys.
The pig becomes a supreme
Thanks.
genius, builds an atom smasher, builds a voice translator, and while the pig is smart, I'm its voice. It's
That's
it's
hilarious.
cute. It's a cute.
This is hard, man.
And so, but what was I talking about?
This is very
Big
hard.
Bang, multiverses, different laws of physics.
Yeah, slightly different laws of physics are a fascinating prospect. How that they might vary and how you might want to avoid it. Oh, but I was talking about want to save animals. I've never seen anyone say save
Such a sick
the
cutscene. The
leeches,
dam.
No, no one cares about bugs.
save the
Seeing the
ticks.
dam there
in
like that?
particular, parasites. Save the mosquitoes.
One of my favorite cutscenes.
The biggest enemy of humans, as big an enemy as we are to each other through warfare.
The best cutscene in the game, though,
civilization,
is
the
I think
greatest
Silo.
enemy to human life.
Silo English.
Responsible
The guy
for
walking
more than
down the
a
hall.
billion human
So
deaths
sick.
in the history of civilization. And so here we have mosquitoes,
Or
ticks,
Jaws, seeing Jaws
tapeworms.
before
You know, go
Aztec.
down the list.
Those are probably my
you
two
can
favorites.
ask, if you're really into animals and don't want to kill them, if you heard
With the
that
music,
ticks were in danger,
Jaws going.
would you start a movement to protect ticks?
You see Jaws, you're
Would
like,
you do
holy
it?
shit, it's Jaws.
And if you would, more power to you. But I'm thinking you're not.
Why would you if you know about Lyme disease?
It's the
This is
best.
my point.
Yeah, or
This is my point. I mean, by the way, the Lyme virus wants to live too, right? These are all creatures on God's green
This
earth.
could be fast
right?
enough.
And so you end up being a species bigot. That in the chapter meatarians and vegetarians, there's the philosophies that each of those camps will embrace. And the question is how
Bad
thoroughly
line.
thought through are those
Terrible
philosophies?
line.
Like in one example, let's say you don't want to kill animals, but
Really
you,
bad.
So you
Damn,
have
those
a
are good
humane
stairs,
mouse
though.
trap in your basement. Okay, why not? You don't want to snap the neck of a mouse. That's
We're
cool.
close, man. We're close.
And you like animals, right? So you save the mouse. You got to check on it every few days because they dry out quickly if you trap it. So what do you do when you catch it? What do they do? Release it back into the wild, guaranteeing the mouse gets eaten whole by an owl or pecked apart by all manner of woodland predators between 9 and 18 months of its life.
Come on, baby.
So the safest thing to do with your mouse is to leave it in your basement. If you really care about animal health, and the mouse managed to get into your basement, leave it there. It'll live up to 6 years in your basement.
I lived in Colorado for a while next to an ashram, and I was visiting the ashram and talking to the woman who runs it, and she sprayed Raid all over these ants. And I go, what are you doing? And she's like, well, it's unfortunate, but you know, we have to address the fact that we have an infestation of insects. I'm like, you just mass killed all these living beings
And
with
what-
poison from the sky. And you did it in front of me
Aerial assaults.
while you're espousing the benefits of Buddhism and meditation and
Yeah, so people kind of cherry pick.
yeah.
And I understand it, but I
It's odd.
I don't mind if someone cherry picks as long as they're completely self-aware
Most
of
people
it.
aren't.
And by the way, the home that
You
where
watched
you're
that
saving
clip?
the
Oh,
mouse,
I haven't seen
I
it.
did a rough calculation. It's probably made
It's on
from the
video?
wood of about
That's
50
hilarious.
trees. Each tree could have lived 100 years, but didn't.
That's
It was
totally
cut
embarrassing. I
down
was
to
wondering why he. I guess he's.
the
comic.
the studs, the floorboards, the wall panels, the siding, and each of those trees was home to birds and insects and fungus and squirrels and every day of that tree's life
Oh,
via photosynthesis, it created 15 times the mass
I've never
the
seen it.
mouse
Please don't spoil it.
in breathable oxygen. So I asked him, who do you think nature cares more about? The tree or your 1-ounce mouse?
Probably the tree.
I'm thinking. And some trees live 1,000 years.
Well, have you paid attention to some of the new research that's being done about how trees communicate with
I'll
each
get
other?
to that. Yeah, I'll get to that. That's in that chapter, the Vegetarians and Vegetarian chapter. So trees are fascinating. I've heard people say, well, the mouse has a beating heart, and the tree does not, or plants do not, and animals do. And I said to myself, well, let me think this through. If you cloak a tree, does it not suffocate?
The depot cutscene is
cut
pretty
it,
cool too.
Does it not bleed? If you cut off its nutrients at the base, does it not wither?
With the drones rotating in the
When they're
room
aware
of the
they're being
guards.
eaten, they release
And you're like,
plant
oh
heat.
my
I'm
god.
there. I'm getting there.
You're
All
like, I gotta go in there.
The tree gets nutrients from the soil to the topmost leaf. It does it not for want of a beating heart. It does it in spite of not having one. It has a circulation.
It just has a different
It's where I get
way
my
of life.
it's where I get my maple syrup from. Tree blood. So to fault a tree or plant life for not having a beating heart, when it's not that they need one and don't have one, it's that they don't need one and never wanted one. Now you're talking about the mycelium. So this is a interconnected network, it's a fungal network underfoot in a forest.
Oh, this might be
where
good.
it
This might be
connects
fast
multiple
enough.
Kingdoms of life. There are
Come on,
4 kingdoms.
I gotta
You might
clutch it. I
learn
gotta
that there were
clutch it.
2. You've upped it since then. Those 2 kingdoms are still intact, but like I said,
I hit the stupid corner, bro.
it's embedded in a larger
Damn it.
there's the plant kingdom,
Got
animal
stuck on the
kingdom,
corner, dude.
fungal kingdom,
Ah,
and then we have a kingdom that includes all of the bacteria.
for like a microsecond. It still might be good enough if I fucking
microscopic
clutch
life
this.
forms. And so, here's an interesting thing. I lost sleep for a week.
I
Ready?
botched it.
If you look at the common
If
ancestors
this is 54, I'm gonna cry.
between fungus and animals, because the tree of life ultimately has one
It wasn't
taproot,
pace.
okay, and as it splits, it speciates, and you get all these things. The diversity of life on Earth is enabled by the fact that life can speciate. Okay. You look at the common ancestor between animals and fungus. The common ancestor between humans and mushrooms split later than its common ancestor split with green plants. What that means is we and mushrooms are more alike than either we or mushrooms are to green plants.
Well, mushrooms breathe oxygen.
All I'm saying is, you grill a portobello mushroom? What's the first word people use to describe it? No, we talk about mushrooms tasting meaty.
Yeah.
Yeah, meaty mushroom. No one has, last I checked, no one has ever accused kale of tasting meaty. So in a way, we're kind of biting into ourselves. Plus mushrooms, shrooms, people have whole relationships with mushrooms.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So, and mushrooms are fungus. Fungus thrives on our body.
Way too fucking
Have you ever
wide.
done
Yeast?
psychedelic mushrooms?
I've never done anything psychedelic. Can I tell you why?
Yeah, please do.
So I don't know if it's a good reason. I don't know if it's the best reason.
Wow, that was still
but to me, it's a
54.
really good
That's
reason.
crazy.
The human mind barely works as it is.
Damn it. I wonder if I was tighter on the stairs.
You ever see a book of optical
That was a high
illusions?
54.
No one doesn't love a good book of optical illusions. And you turn the page, oh, what is that? Oh, is it in the page, out of the page? Is the line longer? Is it shorter? And you scratch in your head. These are simple line drawings that confound the human mind's ability to interpret. Our brain barely works as an accurate decoder of the natural world around you. You now want to stir in chemicals? I recognize it'll take you on a ride, but I have always valued objective reality. I don't want anything interfering with my understanding of what is actually happening in front of me. And there are people who would claim that under the influence, they're accessing some actual other reality. All I can say is, if in that other reality you can, invent the James Webb Space Telescope, tell me about it. If you can figure out how to fly, and if you can do that, tell us about it. And there are people say, oh, I visited Venus when I was on a head trip. Did you bring back evidence? Evidence matters. Okay. Did you bring it? No, but it was in their head.
Well, the material world, what we're talking about is actual physical objects, right? It's if you
The
bring
physical world,
back
the physical
something,
universe.
the physical, what they're experiencing is something akin to, you could call it a hallucination, You could call it a portal where
A vision?
physical reality doesn't exist, and you only exist as consciousness.
Here's my skepticism. I don't mind people
I
saying
get
that
stuck
they
again?
visited another planet. Or whatever, wherever they're visiting, or some
Right.
astral plane. Okay? I don't. Okay. Then I'm, you know, write a travel log and share it with people, as some have done. I guess
what does that
I
say,
would
mod
ask
love?
whether what you experience is part of an objective reality that we
Pretty
can
good
all
emotes. Wow.
recognize. Because if it's not, then it's completely in your head. And if it's completely in your head,
Oh, wait a
it's
minute.
less useful.
What do you mean by that? Part of an objective reality?
In objective reality. So here's an example. When people have these near-death experiences, okay, or one where they're dying on a table, and a common we describe, they leave their body and they look back on themselves. Okay, that's a thing. That's something. Okay.
Right.
Let's investigate this. Okay. So the test for whether you really left your body or whether you were hallucinating it is get some writing that faces the ceiling up above your body. Okay? And they've done this experiment. And if you're floating above your body, above that piece of paper, when you come back to life, you should be able to say what's written on that piece of paper. And that is yet to happen.
If you get above it.
Yeah, if you get above it. Correct. That is yet to happen. That'd be really
Where would
good.
that piece of paper be suspended?
Yeah, no, you have to put it up on a shelf or something. Yeah, you'd be able to put it in a way that it would be clearly.
But then the
Might be
person
it, but
would
I
have
got
to
stuck
die
on the
knowing that
thingy
piece
and it
of
was bad
paper was
ending.
there and then be brought back.
Oh,
Possibly. If the,
has
if,
to be like perfect.
Yeah, I mean,
So you'd have to tell them,
Aw.
hey, I know you're gonna die.
you're going to die.
We're gonna
If you come back,
This is so
I have a
painful.
piece of paper up here.
That
Go
seems
read
like
from it.
a pretty ridiculous experiment
No,
to try to
if you
achieve.
can't, wait, pause.
Pause.
From ridiculous
So like,
experiments.
hey, I know this guy's about to die.
I
but
just gotta
instead of
clean it up.
concentrating
I
on
just gotta
bringing
clean
him
it
back
up.
to life, let's
That's it.
write
No,
down
you
on
do
a piece of
both.
paper
No,
and leave it
instead
on the
of-
shelf. Well, who the fuck is gonna do that?
No, you know what they did?
What?
In 1895,
Yeah.
after Wilhelm Röntgen discovers X-rays, and they find out it penetrates your body, and you can see bones inside your body. You know what they did? They set up X-ray machines at the bedside of dying people to see if they can see.
I mean, I
soul
could see
leave the
how
body.
it's possible.
And everybody just got cancer from the
Just
radiation.
the math.
They died from cancer. No, they were- I thought
The
that was an
math adds
admirable
up.
attempt.
Yes,
to
interesting.
make a measurement.
Yeah, that's interesting. But
Yes,
but
but
how
they- and
would
they
you
never saw-
possibly know that someone is going to die and
Just like the
or
3
have a
boosts or
near-death
whatever.
experiment
What you
and
do
then-
every-
near-death
Or the
experience,
2
rather,
boosts
and then
and
put
excellent
a piece
lines.
of paper
If you want
on
to-
a shelf.
With
what
the
you want
lookup.
to do, you'd have to be really organized about that.
Yeah.
And if you want to do this en masse,
You'd have to just like have shelves in
have
every
shelves
bedroom.
in every room,
every
where some-
ER.
every ER, correct. Or
As you know.
How often does that happen where people have above their body experiences?
very
where they
frequently
leave their body?
reported.
Very frequently.
Oh yeah, I'm just saying that the brain is capable of so much extraordinary thought within itself
Of course.
that what I care about for the world is what is objectively true. What's objectively true can be verified by multiple people. And if it's only true within your head, it's not useful, is all I'm saying.
How could it not
Oh,
be
I
useful?
just missed
It's
that one.
useful to you.
yeah.
And if useful
I know,
to
not
you,
useful to other
but
people.
hold on,
Other
if it's
people.
useful to you, and then that usefulness to you actually manifests
Oh
itself
my god, this
in
level,
something
dude.
that it's created because of this experience. Like Kerry Mullis created the PCR method because he had an acid trip, and during the acid trip came up with this idea.
So, what we'd have to ask is, how frequent is that? So you get everybody who takes
Peace,
trips of
yo.
any kind,
Thanks,
be it
man.
mushrooms or acid or
Thanks, buddy. What's up, dude?
Look at
Thanks,
the
Holmes,
body
thanks.
of their new thoughts that have come from them. For them having when they credit it, okay? And Carl Sagan was a big pothead,
Yeah.
okay, and highly productive scientist. So, so the question is, does it give you some insight, which when you were not under the influence, gets you closer to an objective reality? That's an interesting question.
Carl Sagan actually believed that there was the way he described. What was his description? The way he described it, but he said he believed that there are thoughts that were only available.
So
to
stupid,
people who
man.
were under the influence of marijuana.
That is certainly the case for any drug,
Yeah.
right? So
But he felt like those thoughts were beneficial.
well, I can ask, are those thoughts more connected to reality than if you were not so influenced?
But if
So
you-
I did an experiment with myself.
Okay.
Okay? When I first started writing in graduate school at a monthly column, I you know, there's that stereotype of Hemingway with a drink, you know, and they're writing, and that's their creative moment. I said,
Nice
I don't really
stairs.
like
It's too.
hard
It's
liquor,
not.
but
It's
I
not fast enough. The
wine,
stupid
so-
gate.
so let me
It's
get a bottle of
54
wine
again.
and drink wine while I write. And I said, yeah, this is
So
good.
dumb.
Do it. And
Oh.
I did it without wine. This is an experiment I conducted on myself. And it was not as fun composing without the influence of just some, you know, a smooth, sort of low level, sort of wine buzz. But I looked at the two, there was no contest. My completely sober writing, vastly better than what I was writing under the influence of several glasses of
what
wine.
kind
Even
of-
though I believed it was really good.
But hold on a second.
Yeah.
What kind of writing are you talking about? If you're talking about fiction,
No, prose.
okay.
Prose. But
One
I
of
like,
the greatest examples of fiction being enhanced rather by under the influence of drugs and chemicals is Stephen King. If you go and read Stephen King's early work versus the stuff after he got sober, and I'm a gigantic Stephen King fan.
was it just alcohol in his case, or were there other
Cocaine.
drugs? Oh, other drugs
A
too.
lot of
yeah.
cocaine, a lot of alcohol, cigarettes, a lot of cigarettes. It was. It's vastly superior, darker, deeper, stranger,
day.
more bizarre, more shocking.
In the day. you're saying.
In the day, read it today. Read Carrie
No,
today.
I meant you're saying what he created in the day under that influence
Yes,
was way.
the stuff
yeah.
under the influence, the stuff he created.
Carrie
under
is
the influence.
deeply dark.
It's
oh my
so
gosh.
dark.
Oh yeah.
It's so dark.
Wait, so when was
Pet
Shawshank?
Cemetery, they're almost
When
all
was
of them.
Shawshank Redemption? Is that
I think all of them were when he was fucked up. He wrote some good stuff after he was fucked up, but like Cujo, he doesn't even remember writing it. And
okay?
it's
So
fantastic.
So, is this something you would recommend for creative
I
people?
recommend Stephen King. Get back on coke, sir. Stay off Twitter. Get back on coke. I'm kidding.
So what? My
But-
one
but-
little experiment
no,
with
no,
glasses of wine.
Yeah, that's not enough. That experiment's not enough. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I personally feel that under the influence of marijuana, I come up with some of my best ideas for comedy, for stand-up comedy writing. I do the
I
George
hear you got a new
Carlin
show
method.
ready to drop. I'm
Yes,
looking forward
sir.
to that. I love your work, by
Thank
the
you
way.
very much. Thank
Yeah.
you. I do the George Carlin method. I write sober and then I punch it up high.
Okay.
And sometimes
As
I just
opposed to
write
the
high.
opposite. Yeah,
Well,
interesting.
George Carlin had a great point. He's like, you should write about things that you're thinking about and things that are like important or things that are on your mind, and then he would like let it sit, and then he would smoke pot and go back to it, and then he would come up all the funny, all the
Interesting.
ridiculous aspects of it, and he would interject them into it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, to the extent I'd like to know how reliable that is.
Well, here's the other point that I should say. There's many people that don't do any drugs that write fantastic stuff. And there's many comedians that are completely clean and sober that have done their
hate
best
this
work
level.
once they got clean and sober. That's true too. Both those things are true.
Right.
But I think they're tools.
And we've lost some comedians. I mean, you know, Mitch Hedberg, for example,
Yeah,
one of my
so
favorites.
Mitch was
Yeah.
genius, but he
Yeah, I
was
really
very,
loved
and
his
he had a
stuff.
really bad drug. His
Yeah.
injectable heroin was
my
his
gosh,
thing, which is
yeah.
one of the worst. But the point is, it's like they're tools. And I used to have a joke about it, like that marijuana is like any other tool. It's like a hammer. You can build a house with a hammer, or you can hit yourself in the dick if you're fucking crazy. And that's the problem with all sorts of things. They need to be managed responsibly, and people need to understand what the effects are, what the dosage is, and that's where science comes
Okay,
in.
here's what I'll do. I still have some writing projects that I'm going to finish.
Take mushrooms.
No. When I'm done with what I know I wanted to write before I died,
I hate this.
then I will consider.
I hate this so
Come
much.
to daddy.
I'll come to Papa. I'll come to Papa,
We'll hook
and
you
then
up.
I'll see if some new creative thing comes out of me at that time.
Well, I don't know if new creative things will come out of you, but I think
Well, I already got
thoughts,
stuff. I mean, I'm
thoughts will come out that probably wouldn't exist without them. And when you're talking about like really breakthrough psychedelic moments like DMT or mushroom psilocybin, one of the really fascinating things is they mimic neurochemistry. Like DMT is in the brain, and it's in all the organs, and it's a part of natural human neurochemistry.
Well, except of course, so is fentanyl. So
Fentanyl is a part of the
no,
human
you have
neurochemistry?
receptors for it. So
Right, but DMT is produced by the human body. It's actually a thing that the body makes.
Right.
We don't know why.
Right.
And the really heavy-duty psychedelic people think that in large doses, when you take it and have these breakthrough experiences, what you're doing is you're going through some sort of chemical portal. And this chemical portal is only available to people in these near-death experiences under extreme moments of stress, where they have like these moments where they go through the tunnel and the bright light and meet God.
I mean, how many of these would I have to see to be convinced that it's a reliable
I think you would have
consequence
to
of it?
do it.
Yeah.
I think it's when this conversation is like talking to a person who's lived in an underground tunnel their whole life, who's dismissing sunlight. They're like, what's the big deal with sunlight? I'm fine down here with light bulbs, and you and your sunlight. Oh yeah, photosynthesis. Woo-hoo. I've got hydroponics.
So you're being a very effective drug pusher.
But the drugs that I'm interested in are not dangerous. They're not ones that...
This feels a lot like
I've
Bunker
never done
1.
cocaine, I've never done heroin,
This feels a lot like Bunker 1,
Does cocaine kill you?
where everything's
can.
18
if
and
you're
you
rich
just
enough.
know it's 18. And it's just
Well, it
terrible.
certainly can kill you today because so much of it is laced with fentanyl,
Oh yeah.
which is one of the #1 killers of young people, unfortunately, fentanyl contamination of drugs. But I'm interested in pharmacology. I'm interested in what happens to the mind when it's under the influence of different substances.
Yeah, I guess I'm less interested because I have to think more about what you said, but look at how people misinterpret reality when they're not on anything.
It's a good point, and it's another good point is there's many people
The
that under
failure
the
of
influence
eyewitness
of those
testimony
drugs,
just to say
Yes.
what actually happened.
Sure, and that's under
scary.
extreme duress. That's
People end up
terrifying.
in jail
Yes,
because of that.
for the rest of their lives.
Yes.
Listen, I've had many conversations with people on this podcast about that because I've worked with my friend Josh Dupin, who was originally an ambassador for the Innocence Project and
Innocence
has done a
Project.
bunch of stuff on his own where he's gotten many
fact
people out of
that
jail.
an innocent project even has to exist in this
Yes.
world is itself a travesty.
Well, I'm hoping that with science, there's going to come a time where we can actually read the contents of people's minds. And that this will no longer be, I remember
It's an episode
this.
of Black Mirror.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
But I think maybe, yes, that would be
But
interesting.
isn't the problem is that false memories are a real
Yeah,
thing?
so there are people who believe something, and if you read their mind, you'll just see what it is that
Right.
they believe.
But I wonder if you could sort of back engineer that belief. I wonder if it could get to the point where you could say, oh, you believe this because this is a memory of the way you
No,
describe
we just do
the
it
memory.
Black Mirror style, and you have a chip
Yeah,
that
that's-
records everything that you see.
That's probably the
There's a
future.
chapter here called Law and Order, where I get into the role of science in deciding whether someone is guilty or innocent. And it's the idea that in a courtroom, someone says, I need a witness. This is like, in the court of science, that's the last thing you are ever asking for. Because we know that the psychologists knew this first. The rest of us, figured it out after the fact, that eyewitness testimony is one of the least reliable forms. The third time I was rejected from jury duty, I show up dutifully, okay? And the third time, they said there was a woman who was robbed on the street of her groceries and her purse. And they had the person who she accuses positively identifies and her. And it's a literal he said, she said, okay? We read the particulars of the case. She said he robbed her, the groceries, took it, and then ran off. When the cops found the guy, he was not in possession of anything she said he took. They looked in the area if anything stashed in dumpsters or anything, they didn't find anything. Okay, so that's the state of the case. And the judge reads the particulars and goes to I'm down to the last 15. I'm almost on a jury. For the first time I'm almost there. And said, do you have any does anyone have any think they would not be able to convict based on the kind of information and evidence that's been presented? And there's a juror 14, whatever your number is, right, until you're selected. Said, would you have any? I said, yes, I'd have a problem if the only evidence available is eyewitness testimony. That everything I know about it tells me I should not trust it on the level where you end up putting someone in jail. So I could not convict if that's the only evidence you have. What the judge said next was, are there any other jurors, like juror 14, who needs more than one witness before they would be able to convict? And I said, should I jump in now and say, that's not what I said, what should I do? I think in the person in front of me said, Your Honor, that's not what he said. Okay? And I said, oh, thank you. Thank you, Jesus, right? He said, that's not what he said. And I resisted with all my might to say, Your Honor, you were eyewitness to what I said 20 seconds ago and got it wrong.
Yes.
But I resisted, but I was nonetheless on the street 20 minutes later.
So I changed my looking stick. It's a lot more sensitive. I just gotta get used to it.
We've all known that forever.
Slap myself on the wrist.
Right. So I'm just saying it's clear that the legal system, the precision of
Deeply flawed.
it's deeply flawed. And they say, well, it's the best we have. Well, then fix it.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's how you were talking when they used to dunk people, and if you died face up, you were innocent, and died face down, you were guilty. That was the best they had then, but we improved on it.
Right. If they drowned you, you weren't a witch. Congratulations, you weren't guilty.
Well, it depends on, that's right, how you died.
No, I'm gonna switch
You
back.
otherwise go to heaven.
Right.
So, plus there's, in Columbus's voyage, there's a lot. We talked about Columbus last time on the show.
I've talked about Columbus many times.
Yeah.
Horrific.
So, in one of the voyages, they went on some stretch of time and they didn't have food, and they had Indians from that they brought on board, as well as some of their own crew, and people were dying. And so at sea, what do you do with a dead body? You throw it overboard, of course, okay? So a person who's keeping notes said all the Indians they threw overboard floated face down, and all the Christians floated face up.
Oh,
So I said, okay. Okay, I guess that could happen, statistically, perhaps. I don't know. But now we have his handwritten notes, eyewitness testimony of something that is completely fulfilling his own worldview's expectations of how things should be. So that's in the whole sort of law and order chapter, I just pick all and just try to say, why not have jurors that are really good at data analysis? How about that?
That would be nice, but that's really hard to find. And then on top of that, if you are dealing with eyewitness testimony, what do you do? Do you just throw everything out completely, or do you try to assess whether or not that person is capable of objective thought and reasoning?
No, because even people who are better at it are still flawed at it.
Right,
Okay?
especially under experiences under extreme
Stress
duress.
experience.
Yeah.
Correct. As they've done many times in psychology class, they have, the class is unfolding, and they stage some violent thing with an explosion, and then they say, write what you just saw.
Right.
And nothing agrees. Okay? So, yeah, it's a challenge.
Which is the problem with conspiracy theories after big events like 9/11. Like all the people that say they saw this and they saw that, and I remember this and I remember that, and you have these little sound bites of all these people, and you piece them together, like, oh my God, they planted bombs.
And there are also there are people who say before an earthquake,
They knew it was gonna happen.
they see all the animals running,
Right.
and it's like, okay, you reported that after the earthquake happened, not like before.
But doesn't that happen during tsunamis? Don't animals actually do go to higher ground? I think that has actually been documented.
Okay,
I
so
believe that happened
I'm
in-
highly suspicious of whether that's true, because a tsunami, there's no way to know that. Tsunami typically is
Oh my
an
God.
earthquake way offshore.
Right. but-
Okay, and it's a very low amplitude wave in deep water that
This guy's really
continues to
arrogant.
gain amplitude as the water gets shallower and shallower. So that's why waves get bigger when
Yes.
they crash on the shores. So as it comes to the shore, so if you're just an animal in the woods, if you're not on the shoreline,
This guy's a know-it-all,
there's no
and he doesn't
way
know
to
it all.
that.
I think they were talking about animals on
And I think it's his ego
and
that's
animals that do live closer to
trying
the
to
shore, and maybe
over-account.
there's an indication because the water pulls back.
I
before
wouldn't
tsunami.
be so
I
mean
can-
on the
I can
guy,
recognize
but
that. But if you're just an animal
he's an
somewhere,
ass.
onshore, away from the coast, I don't really see that. I need to see very good evidence for that, and not just someone's account.
Yeah, I don't know if they're talking.
This is my
about
whole
that,
point.
Yeah.
The people have accounts of all kinds of things. Do you know? There's a whole other chapter called risk and reward. All right, here's something. Surely in your life you have taken an average of numbers before.
Okay.
Tell me yes.
Sure.
Lie to me, even if it's not true.
I have. Yeah. Definitely.
Okay. You realize that the first time anyone ever did that, to realize that maybe there's some interesting result here, was after the invention of algebra, trigonometry, geometry, and calculus.
Really?
Statistics is just something that the human brain, it's just not natural. It is completely foreign to us. We don't know how to interpret simple random events because we want to give meaning to them. You know the thing where you're in some other country, in some other city, and you meet someone like a childhood friend.
Yeah.
You say, small world.
Yeah.
That's your first thought, right? Small world. Okay, here's how to cure that. Okay, next time you're in a foreign city, go up to every single person you walk by and say, do I know you? And they'll probably say no. I mean, know you personally? They'll know you because you're a dude, but they know you personally? No, just keep doing this. And if they say, no, I don't know you, then say, big world. Just do that. You'll do that millions of times
Okay.
before you meet someone.
ah, that was it. I
you
tried to
once
cut the
knew.
stairs too soon.
And the
Let's just
proper
pause out.
statistics will then get reported.
Okay, that wasn't it.
So no, it's not a small
Wasn't
world,
it?
it's a fucking big world. And there are a lot of people in it who you don't know.
It's just very unusual when you meet someone in another country that
No,
you know.
no. There's a
from back
point
home.
where, well, if you do the math, there are a lot of things that people say are unusual where it would be unusual if you didn't.
Well, if you fly to England and you don't tell anybody you're flying to England and you run into a friend from back home, that's pretty unusual.
Look how often people say that it happens.
Well, we live in a strange
That's precisely
world.
my point.
Right.
Okay, everybody you know has that story. If you
Yeah.
run the statistics on it, it would be odd if you went your life, presuming you have a normal life and you know people and your school was big and all of this. Okay, you didn't grow up in a farm with, with nobody, you didn't know anybody. It requires some basic number of people. So if there's a lot of errors of statistics that we make, of probability and statistics, the sad part of it is there's an entire industry that has risen to exploit that fact. And they're called casinos. The fact that you could go to a roulette table and somebody's got a lot of money on 7. I said, why do you have money on 7? It's due. What do you mean it's due? Well, look at the previous rolls because they'll show you the previous rolls. And 7 hasn't appeared in 20 rolls or whatever the number is they put. So it's due. No, it's not due. This is a failure of the human brain to understand and interpret probability and statistics. There are people who are going to roll dice. Okay? If they need a low number, they'll take the dice and gently throw them. So if they need a high number, they'll throw them hard. This is
nonsense.
This is crazy.
But those people are suckers. There's other people
I
that
think
do
it's-
understand statistics and they kick them out of casinos because they count cards.
only for those that are not purely random, like a roulette table, okay, or dice.
Right, you
okay.
do things like
So-
blackjack.
Yeah, correct. You can tilt the odds in your favor a
Right.
little bit and be systematic about it. But I'm talking about pure probabilities. The fact that someone thinks that a
Right.
number is due
Right.
is itself. But do you realize the American Physical Society, these are my physics peeps, that's our physics society. 1986, they were going to have their annual meeting in San Diego, and it was a hotel snafu. So they had to reschedule. And so Vegas said, we'll take you. the MGM Marina, which became the MGM Grand, we'll take you. 4,000 physicists said, okay. 4,000 physicists had their annual meeting in Las Vegas. And let me tell you, okay, K through 12, is there even a course offered in probability and statistics? You learn reading, writing, and arithmetic, not reading, writing, and probability and statistics, right? It's kind of not there. And if it's there, it's an elective, okay? So, as a scientist, especially as a physical scientist, I take some form of probability and statistics every single year I am in school. Different nuances.
Yeah,
data
I didn't
can
start
look
taking
at,
statistics till
analyze,
university,
get
actually.
an average. The average that I told you about, you add numbers, divide by that. That's one of a dozen kind of ways you can average numbers. There are other ways. You can have a statistically weighted average. It depends on the needs, depends on the situation. Point is, the physicists came to Vegas. 1 week later, there was a news headline, physicists in town, lowest casino take ever.
Fucking idiot. I'm such a fucking idiot.
We're told
God,
to
I'm
never
terrible.
return to Vegas.
I didn't even. Good,
Yes.
good.
Told never
They were told.
return.
They were told. Well, that might be apocryphal, but it was in the headline.
Really?
Yeah. So
That's
So
fun.
fucking
these are
terrible.
People, these are my peeps. This is what we do.
little
We,
too smart.
We think about. It's not because we took advantage of the craps of the blackjack table. It's because they just simply didn't get it.
Well, I'm the same way. I don't read it. I look how big the place is. I'm like, how is this made? By selling tickets to the buffet? I don't think so. I don't think
Not.
so. No, this is made from suckers.
Not.
Me and my wife went
Wait,
a
one
few
other
months
thing.
ago.
Let's say you're winning
Yeah.
in something. You're in the one-armed bandit, and you had a jackpot. What do they do with you? At that point, they see this is happening. What does the house do?
They check the machine.
No.
check you.
No.
They give you free drinks.
Yes, give you free drinks.
Yeah.
They get a comely server to come over to
Yes.
you and say, "Would you like a free cocktail?"
Yes.
To stir chemicals into your brain to disrupt the little bit of objective reality that you're experiencing.
Release your
at that-
inhibitions. You're feeling lucky. Are you feeling lucky, Neil?
You're feeling lucky.
Yeah. I'm not I don't feel lucky at all at casinos. I feel stupid.
Oh,
It's
and
not
another
it.
thing with the state lotteries, but this is all in the risk and reward chapter. State lotteries. You know what most of the revenue? It's a state money. It
Right.
goes into the coffers,
Right.
tax coffers. Do you know where most of that money is allocated for in most states?
No.
It goes to education.
Oh, that's good.
You didn't know that?
No, that's
yeah, it's
great.
cool. It's so that makes you feel a little better, like you're helping out your own state
Right.
when you buy your state lottery. Here's the thing. Part of me wonders. Okay, let me tell you the conspiracy thing here. Okay. My conspiracy. Okay. Am I allowed?
Yeah,
Am I allowed one per year?
Give it all the ones you want. I love a good conspiracy.
The conspiracy is they have to make sure that the school curriculum does not teach probability and statistics.
What? What?
Because if they did,
Wait a minute.
if they did, then no one would play the lottery.
So they allocate money to education with a specific
No,
mandate that
I'm
you
not
can't.
saying. I'm not saying that.
What are you saying?
Yes, I'm saying. No, I'm.
Jamie's saying no.
It's not like a law.
No.
but I know that. I
No,
know
I'm
that.
just saying it's a little suspicious
that
that
they
the
don't teach those
very
things.
knowledge of math that would undermine the ability of the state lottery to make money is not a required part of the math curriculum in kindergarten through 12.
So you think, but you don't think that's why.
I'm just playing with no, I don't really think that's why.
Right.
No, okay, so I see what you were doing there. You were assuming that I was totally in on this conspiracy theory, and I have charts on my wall and websites devoted to it. No, it just crossed my mind how odd it is that when you know enough about probability and statistics, you bet less. And when you bet less, the revenue to the state would drop, and that's the revenue that would go to education. So it has the power to plant the seeds of its own undoing. And it doesn't do that.
So
I'm intrigued by that fact.
just removing ourselves from the conspiracy theory aspect of it, do you think that it would be beneficial to teach probability and statistics to people?
Oh my gosh!
along
Look at how many
with-
bad decisions we make.
Yeah.
Because we think we have an understanding of what is random and what is not.
Right.
What is a there's the one they did this, but actually their analysis was flawed, but the basis was well placed. So the idea, you're playing a basketball game and somebody hits a few shots in a row. He's got a hot hand, give it to them.
Yeah.
They don't have a hot hand. It is the natural consequence. If you're shooting 50% in a game or 40%,
Yes.
and you take, I don't know how many shots, you take 30 shots, you can look at the probability that you'll have multiple shots in a row that are made. And it's very high and it's very real.
But do you discount?
So it's not something special happening. It is the randomness of the statistics that's happening.
Okay, but this is talking about statistics, but from an individual basis. Do you discount the idea that sometimes people feel really good and they have a very good sense of where the ball's going, where they're more loose or relaxed or more practiced, whatever it may be, and they're more accurate because of that?
If that's the case, no. So people have good days.
Yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson's never played a like.
So this is why
If
that
you ever played
person
anything in your
announces
life, you would
like
know
this
that
one.
yes, there's a hot
Because a
hand.
person can have more
course.
than what is typical shots in a row.
Right.
Okay.
This
And
guy's
for
just
that
so
game,
egotistically
you can look at their data,
contrarian,
and
driving
they
me
made
insane.
60% of their shots.
He's not a
instead of
statistician.
40%.
He's an astrophysicist.
And
That's
if you
what I'm
make
saying.
60% of the shots,
I'm a
you can
statistician.
expect 3 in a row there, 6 in a row there, 5 in
He's
a
saying
row
stuff
here.
with such confidence when he doesn't understand the material.
It's the random expression of having a 60%.
It's insane to
success
say it's
rate in a
random.
basket. You
It's
expect,
incorrect.
intervals where you make multiple
Fucking
shots
idiot.
in a row. That's my only point. And that could be a good day for you because you're shooting 60%.
Right.
And I want to recognize that. I'm going to hand you the ball if you're having a good day. You
Yeah.
can totally have a good day. But at the end of the day, you're not sinking 20 here and none before it. No. In the statistics.
This guy's making such
maintain
straw man
themselves in the
arguments,
game unless you get
motherfucker.
injured or something, of course.
God
So
damn
my
it.
point is, we have such, and I don't want to blame people for this.
Blaming
if it was
you,
natural
motherfucker.
to think statistically about the world, it would have been the first branches of math we would have ever discovered. But it wasn't. It was like 1753. Sounds like a long time ago, but it's 50 years after calculus was invented. After calculus, which is not even taught in school.
Not long ago at all,
Okay,
really.
correct. There's a simple
Really?
paper on the benefits
I learned a
of
lot of
taking the
calculus
mean is
in high
average,
school.
of observations.
Can you imagine not
in
learning
astronomical
calculus
days.
in school?
So the astronomer did it. First take a mean. And this is just so that tells me we are victims of our own brain wiring.
Don't think about calculus
And
because
so
it made us
it takes many
memorize all
years to
the
undo that
derivatives,
wiring.
which is
You see
bullshit.
through it so that
Why are
are
you
not,
forcing us to memorize a proof, motherfucker? Just let us
you know,
let the
and
computer
it
do it.
prevents
You
you
know what I
from
mean?
seeing other things.
Like you have a computer, you don't need to memorize a proof of a
You realize
derivative.
last
Like
year-
fuck off. Hospital's rule. Hospital can go fuck
lost
himself.
as many people in the United States to traffic accidents as we did in all the years we fought in Vietnam. Look at the effort we put up as a country beginning maybe 1967, certainly 68, to stop the carnage. And that's just the American deaths, not to mention the millions of deaths of the Vietnamese themselves, North and South. Point is, our reactions to statistics are very different depending on what caused it.
Yes.
And I'm intrigued by that. I don't have a good understanding of it. Any laws that treat it are going to have to fold in people's emotions. Here's an example. You shoot deer with your bow and arrow. There's a certain number of deer deaths and human deaths by cars hitting deer in the roads, especially in suburban, rural places, okay? Well, what do you do about this? What are you going to do?
Get a truck with a big ass bumper. That's what they do out
The
here.
Joe Rogan solution
That's
to
what
the-
Texas is. You ever see those guys that work on ranchers?
Make sure your
Ranchers,
truck
they
has
have these-
significantly more mass than the deer.
No,
correct?
they have specific bumpers that they build to save people's lives.
Right.
Oh,
of
what?
course, this is what
What?
old locomotives had if there were cattle on the... You ever see that pointy front on locomotives?
Yes,
Yeah, that was to pry cattle up
Yes.
so it wouldn't roll over the cow and derail the
Right.
thing. So what do you do do you accept the 100 deaths a year in your county, whatever human deaths? No one's counting deer deaths here, right? Or do you find something?
Get yourself a big ass
there
bumper.
you go, big ass
Deer
bumper.
killer bumpers. Look at those suckers.
I like
That's
the
what I'm
Ford
talking
F-250
about.
right there.
That's what I'm saying. Look at that one, the Ford F-250, that red one. That's what I'm talking about.
The problem is if
Get
the
yourself one
center of
those.
mass of the deer is above the level of that bumper, well, for elk it would be, for moose it would be. But what grew up in Alaska?
No.
Yes.
No,
Oh.
not a 250. F-250? Center of mass of an elk?
Okay,
Moose.
so moose. I'm sorry, moose.
Yes.
I'm sorry, moose.
Moose is a different thing.
I saw a moose. And
Oh,
my wife
boy.
grew
When you
up
see
in
him
Alaska.
for the first time, you're like, how
What the
is
hell is
that real? The first time I saw
how
a
did
moose,
that happen?
I was in British Columbia, and I saw it. It was like the scene in Jurassic Park where Jeff Goldblum gets out of the Jeep. He's like,
Yeah. It's like, who invented that? Right, right.
look at the size of that
Right, so
thing.
if you're under the center of mass, then it will just roll up and crush your windshield.
Yes,
So you have
will
to watch out for
go
that.
through your windshield.
yeah.
It's horrific.
So here's my point. There's a group, I forgot where, somewhere in New England, who did a study. And the study was, if you have 100 deaths a year, we can drop that to maybe 30 deaths a year. How? By introducing the natural cat predator to the deer. So it would be like a puma or a bobcat, one of these sort of mid-sized cats that hold the deer as their quarry.
Yes.
Okay. And they ran some models of how this would go. And you could drop the number of human deaths by a factor of 3. Okay? Because still some deer would wander onto the road.
This guy's retarded.
But you'll lose about 10 children a year.
Yeah.
They'll just snatch your kid out of the
Yeah.
backyard and eat your child.
This guy's fucking retarded.
So look at these numbers. You killed 100 people in their cars, or the deer killed 30 people plus 10 children. No, the deer killed 30 people. The bobcat kills 10. And bobcat might not kill an adult, not bobcat, but whatever is
Mountain
the
lion.
next mountain lion. That's the, or whatever was native in the region long ago. Okay? And so they did a study. And the point is, you could not bring that suggestion
More
forward.
studies.
Because
More
the
mathematical
government would be
models.
introducing an animal that killed your children. But no one's looking at the 100 people that were, whatever the numbers were, it was a factor of 3 or so.
Do you know there's another solution?
The correct numbers are in the book. No, I'm just giving this as
terrible.
an example.
I understand.
Of we're not equipped to fold our emotions with the data to arrive at a solution that would save the most lives.
I see what you're saying. There's a technological solution that they've come up with. There's a device that they put at the front of the car that makes a very certain sound that
I've heard
alerts
about that.
deer
It's right
to
on
the
the
presence.
on
Yeah.
the edges of the. I've heard about that, but I
Yeah.
haven't. I read about it like 20 years ago, so I haven't heard much about it
I
since.
don't know how effective
Yeah,
it is.
it runs. The air going through it makes a kind of a siren effect.
Is that what it
Yeah,
is?
that when I last remembered it.
Yeah, well, whatever it is, it develops some sort of a sound that the deer can hear in the wood. But they have a problem with
Here's how
headlights.
I was in Alaska, and there was a deer and a grizzly bear. Must have been 300 yards away. Way down in the valley. And the deer noticed it and was eating, but was eating very cautiously, always looking to the bear. And I'm saying, if it could notice a bear 200 yards and be cautious of it, why can't it know a Ford 250 barreling down a road?
But it's not natural.
Well, figure it out. I mean, come on, it's a mammal. It's got a brain.
That takes
I agree with Tyson on this one. I
And how come
agree.
we haven't
If
killed
you're
all
gonna be
the
an animal and
stupid
you're gonna be
right
dumb
now, so
enough
the
to
ones
run
that
in front of
left,
a
the ones that
car, like,
recognize that cars killed them.
yeah, like natural
They just
selection,
have really
man.
good
Like,
senses.
I agree with
Yeah,
Neil on
so
this
it's
one.
Senses
Fucking
that are
animals,
designed
like, if
to
you're
avoid
dumb,
predation.
But they're living with us
fucking
now.
fucking deer,
They
dumb
don't
as shit
understand- but how
sometimes,
long
man.
might-
Mice
had
and rats
headlights.
figured out how to coexist with humans.
Rats are very intelligent.
They figured this out. Okay?
Yeah, but deer
Figure
don't
it
know
out.
what to do with headlights in cars. It's a completely unnatural thing.
So
That's
everyone that
exactly
doesn't,
how I
they
feel.
die, and the ones that
Fucking
have a
figure
little
it
bit of
out.
genetic variation that figures it out they'll survive.
Sort of, because then they get horny. The problem with deers, if you look at
Sorry, I
the
don't
number
know
of
anything about the
deaths,
sex life of deer.
I do.
Okay.
One of the things that happens.
Don't tell me how you know,
The
but go.
uptick. Well, the rut. When deer rut is when you hunt them, and one of the things that happens during the rut is they get ridiculous. And they just run out into traffic.
they can't even
they
control
chase
themselves.
does into the street. That's
Okay.
oftentimes
The male deer
does,
chase the
yes,
female deer.
because
Yeah.
they're just chasing them. The females are just trying to get away,
Okay.
and they just run out into traffic. That happens. Or the male is trying to chase the female, and
No
all
excuse.
he's got on his mind is he's got tunnel vision, and they just boom gets
Fuck
hit by that
deers.
F-250.
Speaking of deer, by the way, my sister drives an F-250. Or is it a 450? Is there a 450? No, she drives a 350. Excuse me.
Oh, she has a dually?
Yeah, she's got one where the tires can do separate things.
Oh,
and
okay.
Up with the side, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, she's serious.
Don't mess with my sister.
Okay. Is your sister out there off-roading? What is she doing with that crazy truck?
She just
not
she
it.
likes being badass when the
All
time
right.
comes.
I like the way she thinks.
But she doesn't hunt, so it's missing
Bad
half the
tunnel.
equation there. So on the subject of deer, in the chapter on gender and identity, so I go there, gender and identity, because it's a very hot topic.
Yeah.
And I just apply some rational thinking to it. Do you know about Santa's reindeer? Do you know about that?
Sure. I know very much.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you know that...
Caribou.
Yes, yeah, caribou, correct.
Yeah.
And, well, you can domesticate the caribou. And when you do, then both the boys and the girls have antlers. Okay?
Well, that's just the fact of all caribou.
Oh, all caribou, excuse me.
Yeah.
Good. But sorry, the domesticated ones are called reindeer, but they're derived from the caribou, correct. So now watch what happens. So, as you may know, the male deer lose their antlers in late October, early November.
Depending upon where they're
Unless you
at.
castrated them.
They don't. They
No, you
don't
castrate them, they'll keep their antlers.
Yeah,
But
it
otherwise, they
didn't-
drop their antlers
Right.
before winter begins.
Generally not.
No, I
They-
don't
well,
agree
it
with you.
depends on the animal, but a lot of them keep it until almost spring, and
Yeah.
then they drop when they grow back very quickly.
That's nothing of what I've read or learned of
From
this
deer,
animal.
or just caribou?
No, caribou,
Just caribou.
specifically.
Okay.
The ones that became Santa's reindeer. We're not talking about the deer on the, in central Texas. No,
They drop them in the winter.
they dropped them before. They dropped them in November. Okay,
The female don't.
the female don't. So all that means is all 8 of Santa's reindeer are female.
Oh, I hate this. I hate
Which
this.
means
I hate this.
Rudolph has been misgendered.
Interesting.
I hate this stupid
Well,
level.
do you know where the myth of Santa's reindeer flying comes from?
I think it's from mushrooms, isn't it?
Yeah, Amanita muscaria mushroom, which
Yeah.
looks like Santa Claus.
Yeah.
That's it.
With the red and white
And
dots.
they love those things. They love the Amanita muscaria mushroom to the fact that, to the point where when people are doing mushroom ceremonies and they go outside to urinate,
Oh, they drink the pee.
caribou will knock you over to get to your urine.
Yeah, that's
If you have
great.
domesticated caribou, they will knock you over to get to the urine because they smell the Amanita muscaria and whatever it's not psilocybin.
It has to be such a major. I'm trying to imagine how high I'd want to get to drink someone else's
It's
pee.
muscarin.
Well,
That's-
caribou
that's
are
how-
not that wise, nor are they educated, nor do they even understand the concept of urine. Whatever the
It's just a liquid.
psychoactive
It's just-
compound,
yeah.
it's their sense of smell is preposterously intense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we can't even imagine what a deer can smell. They can smell you hundreds of yards away. I mean, I've seen deer go like this, 100 yards away, and then they bolt because they smell you. They catch your
Really?
wind. Yeah, they're amazing.
Here's a mystery that I've always had to this day, because dogs have very acute sense of smell as well.
Oh, that was a good run.
That's how you say that. You just say
Might have been it.
dogs smell good. You don't know what that means, right? Do they smell better than
39?
we do?
Right.
It's
Oh,
an ambiguous sentence. That's all.
Right.
So they have an acute sense of smell. So if they smell so acutely, why do they get within like a half inch of each other's butt?
Because they want to smell it.
But you can smell that 100 yards away.
Yeah, but they want to smell everything.
They want it
to smell the
even
hormones.
more.
They want to, yeah, well, they're
Okay,
intensely
so it's so
attracted.
good.
Yeah,
Let me get up on it.
yeah, they want to.
Okay.
They want to know if you're feeling aggressive.
Okay.
If you're in the heat. They want to know all those things.
Yeah, I never had
fascinating
that urge to do that
animals.
with other humans.
Do you know a bear can smell somewhere in the neighborhood of 9 times greater than a bloodhound?
Domesticate bears. Track down.
Good luck with that.
By the way, have you seen a bear? You got to be able to find this. It's on. I saw it on social media. There's a bear walking down a highway, and there's a tipped over traffic cone, and it looks at it, and then writes it back up and keeps walking by it. And I say to myself, because I have a chapter in here called Body and Mind. There it is. Watch. Check this out. Let's watch. It's a black bear. Clearly. Yeah, it looks wrong. Okay. By the way, you found this video really fast. Thank you for this. Oh, he's got the lump on the neck. Yeah. That's grizzly. That's total grizzly bear. And it keeps going. Didn't even look back. Right. So I don't
What
want
do you think's going on with that?
I don't want to say that's evidence of intelligence so much as it's evidence of more going on inside the animal's head than any of us would have previously ever credited.
Yeah.
In another example, and I get this example in Body and Mind again, there's a magpie bird
Oh, yeah.
who there's a bottle of water in some ground playground area, park area, and it goes up to the bottle of water and it dips its beak in to drink from it. Okay, here, see it? Okay, it goes in and drinks from it. To watch, it's going to drink. But the problem is there's a limit to how far its beak can reach inside of it. And so it gets a stone that fits inside the bottle, which raises the water level so that its beak can continue to drink from it.
Yeah.
This is some Archimedean crazy stuff going on.
It really is.
The magpie, by those in the know, is ranked among the smartest of birds. And this is doing something I think humans wouldn't even think to do.
Probably many humans.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
well-
And so do you remember, how did they teach you where humans were in the tree of life when you were in school? Like we were the smartest or the biggest brain? Well, how did they describe it to you?
Yeah, we're the top of the food chain.
Okay. And what did they say about our brains? Just tell me in your...
Well, it's the size of our brains that makes us so superior.
Okay,
then
but-
you look at a magpie.
Yeah, but
Yo,
dolphins'
what's
brains
up,
are
Kingo? How you doing?
Yeah,
King of all?
40%
How you doing, man?
bigger. Okay, so then therefore what is, whale brains
What's up,
are
my man?
bigger. So,
Yeah.
so then how did they, if there are other animals with bigger brains and we want to stay at the top, what do they say about those other animals?
I don't know. What do they say?
No, I'm saying, okay, so you know what they did?
They say they're inferior?
So no,
do
so what they
say?
did was they say, oh, no, we don't have the biggest brain. Oh, but brain to body weight ratio, then we're the highest. Okay?
Is that accurate with dolphins?
Yes. So
I hate
because
this level.
They're bigger, much bigger creatures than we are. And when you divide the weight of the brain by the weight of the body, we win.
Right.
We beat out whales, we beat out dolphins, we beat out elephants. Then there are those who are fans of those say, well, you want to do it lean weight because the dolphins and the whales have a lot of blubber, and that's not, the brain is not having to control the blubber. So cut away the blubber, that boosts them, but they're still not as high as us. So we walk away saying, we're at the top. However, what they did not say, which I had to, 40 years later, I learned this, that we do not have the highest brain to body weight ratio among animals, only among mammals. The magpie has a higher brain to body weight ratio than humans do.
Wow, I didn't even know
As
that.
do all other
crazy.
mid-sized birds, like crows,
That's interesting.
owls, eagles, these folks, okay?
Oh,
have a
pretty
higher
good.
brain
That's
to
good,
body
man.
weight
I'm
ratio
glad.
Than humans do. So that rule that put us at the
I'm
top
glad, man.
was specifically for mammals. And I'm angry that I didn't think to hear how specific that was when I was taught that in 8th grade.
Well,
Okay?
isn't our understanding of like crows using tools very recent, like in the last 100 years?
All I can tell you is any animal that we have ever got to study in more detail than we previously did has shown to be more intelligent than we ever gave it credit for being. And you know who has the biggest brain to body weight ratio of any creature on Earth? Some species of ants. 15% of their body weight is their brain. And it's kind of obvious. Some of them, like the whole front section of their head.
Right.
It's kind of, in retrospect, it's kind of obvious. And ants are very busy doing some complicated things, and we don't know what they're doing.
Oh,
They're
I'm good, man. I'm
busy.
good.
Carpenter ants, leaf-cutting ants.
I really don't enjoy
crossover
this level at
into
all. I
termite
don't.
land. I don't know how big their brains
It
are. but
makes me
they
feel
do
sick.
building stuff,
And they work in communication with each
and
other
they
somehow.
communicate.
Yeah.
One of my favorite cartoons was two dolphins swimming together, and there's a human, it's like one of these water parks, right? And one dolphin says to the other, speaking of the humans that are up on the island, they face each other and make noises, but it's not clear they're actually communicating with each other. So I'm just saying, we have close-up of an ant. Yeah, that recently released this image, I think. Yeah. So, with
What a horrific demon.
insects with so much detail on their
Yeah.
bodies, and to say, well, we're at the top, really? I got
hate
one for
this
you.
fucking
How much at
level.
the top are you? Do you realize one slice of your lower intestine?
Hate
your
it.
colon,
I really hate it.
one centimeter slice lives and works more microbes than the total number of humans who ever lived. So, ask yourself, what are you to those microbes? Are you Joe Rogan? No, you are an anaerobic vessel of fecal matter in which they thrive.
And without them, you don't exist.
Well, you don't digest your food, first of all. Second, you want to keep them happy, because if they're not happy, then they're in charge. They send you to the nearest toilet as fast as can be. So, part of a cosmic perspective on this world is looking at things in a way that decentralizes who and what you are relative to everything else. And you get a much more honest account of how things work, how they're put together.
That's very hard for people to really grasp.
It's an
because
ego.
You're actually an ecosystem.
Yes, yes. And what is the number? There's some percent of your total body weight is the weight of other living things,
Yeah.
especially what's alive and thriving in your gut. You're just carrying them along.
Well, that's the case with all organisms, though. We like to think of organisms as being individuals, but they're actually
No,
hosts.
I don't think
Well, not all,
amoebas have
not when you get down to single
when
cells.
it's not single
Yeah.
cells, but others, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of symbiotic relationships going on.
Oh, yeah.
And so you can have a cosmic perspective that's not just
Thanks, man.
the cosmos.
Thanks,
Yes.
buddy.
The cosmic perspective just
That's
here
really
in
nice of you.
life on Earth. And
I got it in Miami.
they talked about the overview effect, where the astronauts, probably like the astronauts,
Yes.
as your guest.
Looking down,
Yeah, you look
For
you look
$6.
down. I prefer to use the moon. I'll take
At
it from
Target.
orbit.
Are you gonna do any of those? Like, if they let you up on the Jeff Bezos spaceship, they send people up there all the time,
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
right?
So
It's fairly regular.
I'm
What's for dinner? I don't know yet, my
no,
man.
let me hear me out. Hear me out. So take Earth. And
Don't know yet. How about
shoot
you?
it down to like a schoolroom globe. So now we can think of distances relative to that. And ask, how high up did Bezos and Branson go? Okay. So here's the schoolroom. How far away would you say?
Quarter inch.
Same.
Say a quarter inch? Okay.
No
they went
worries.
The thickness of 2 dimes.
Oh.
And our boy who jumped out of a balloon some years ago,
Yeah.
what's his name? Felix Baumgartner? Thickness of 1 dime. So this idea that they're going, oh, I see the curvature of the Earth. And no, you don't. You don't. I'm sorry.
Did Jeff Bezos doesn't see the curvature of the Earth?
You
when he goes
will
up there?
see the edge of the Earth, but ask how far away is your horizon when you're only that high up. You can just look at that. Go to the schoolroom globe, go 2 dime thicknesses up, and then draw a line to ask how much of Earth do you see. You'll see a circle. That's a circle cookie cut out of the larger sphere.
So it's a perspective issue.
It's a perspective issue. And by the way, the images when they showed Felix Baumgartner, where he's prepared to jump, you see this curved Earth. That's a fisheye lens, dude. Okay? Fisheye lenses take horizontal lines and bend them convex when you're above the midplane of the photo.
In order to gather
Okay.
more of the image.
Correct. That's the only way you can distort it to fit it onto a flat plane, because it's looking at a full sort of 360, well, 180, right? It's trying to get it in. But what happens if you take that horizontal line, the horizon, put it
Nice,
below the
man. Sounds
midplane
good, my man.
of the camera? It then bends the other way. Bends the other way. In fact, I have a tweet that did this. Look for Felix and throw some keywords in there with my Twitter handle, and I have an example of the photos. So, no, he didn't see the curvature of the Earth, but you think he did, and he's high up, and what do we need NASA for, right? He has one dime. Elon Musk authentically goes into
My
orbit.
bad,
He didn't
why
go
you're
into
bad,
orbit,
man.
Fell back to Earth. He authentically goes into orbit. So he
It's all good, man.
is...
The level
The
is bad.
same.
This level is bad.
No, not even. Let me see. Yeah, a little less than a centimeter above Earth's surface. The folks who really saw Earth were the
It just feels like a big waste
went
of
to the moon.
time. I just feel like I'm
we went to the
wasting my
moon 9
life.
times, 3
playing
astronauts
this
so
level.
far. 27 astronauts. have
We are
seen Earth
homies, my
from the
man.
moon.
It's all good, my man.
And that'll change you. Do you know Apollo 14 astronaut Edgar Mitchell? I have a quote from him that opens this book. And that's all you have to read, because the whole book issues forth from that quote. You don't, right, here it is. Edgar Mitchell, Apollo 14. You develop an instant global consciousness, a people orientation, an intense dissatisfaction with the state of the world, and a compulsion to do something about it. From out there on the moon, international politics looks so petty. You want to grab a politician by the scruff of the neck and drag him 250,000 miles out and say, "Look at that, you son of a bitch."
Edgar Mitchell also believes some wacky stuff. Did you know that?
Yeah, I've spoken with him about it.
It might be fast enough. I don't think it is though.
He was one of the
Like it's just like Bunker 17, man. Everything's 18, dude. Everything's
A big
54.
fan of the possibility that there was a
5, like
deeper
I hate
level
this
of
stupid fucking
consciousness.
level. It's so
And
fucking
I
terrible.
don't think it involved drugs,
It's just so
but
awful.
just that there was a deeper level of consciousness that the brain might be capable of if subjected to the proper influences. And he told me how he came across this. Okay, I'll tell you. They're on their way back from the moon, and they're in the capsule, and the capsule rotates. It helps to stabilize it, among other reasons for that happening. And he happened to be positioned in the capsule for 3 days, where the windows to the capsule were aligned with the plane of the solar system. Which means every time the capsule rotated, what came in and out of view was the sun, the moon, Earth, and all the planets. And so he's there for 3 days, watching this drift by. And he felt like he had descended or ascended into a trance state that was beyond what he had ever experienced here on Earth, by normal things you encounter just being a human on Earth. And that led him to wonder whether this was an achievable state by some other means, by some other forces that you could emulate here on Earth. And because he experienced that and I didn't, what am I?
How old am I? I'm
saying?
37.
I'm not going to judge that.
He believed in psychokinetics. He believed people can do things with their mind. He had a lot of like very strange things.
I think that the cleanest way to say that is he believed there was much more capacity of our mind than we had previously tapped.
Yeah.
And that opens up the gates to all these other things. But I was just sharing with you the experiential origins of why he thought that. But the point is that can change you. And in the chapter Earth and Moon, I talk about cosmic perspectives. As you ascend, that the Earth does not look like the schoolroom globe.
Right.
Color-coded countries, You know, only as an adult did I look back on that and I say, you trained me from elementary school to know who my enemies are and who my friends are by color-coding contiguous landmasses on a globe to teach me about the planet Earth.
But they weren't trying to do that. They were trying to explain
It's a consequence of it.
geography.
I knew who
It is
the evil, godless Soviet Union was.
Right.
Okay? Their country was painted red. All right? Not ours. I knew this even if it was not on purpose.
I hate this.
It
I
had
hate
a
this.
subliminal effect.
I just hate everything about it.
And when you go into space,
Oh,
country borders
I
go
just
away.
hate this level.
Except for two places.
I hate it.
You can still see
I hate this
two
stupid
borders
level.
from space. One of them in the daytime, you can see the border of Israel with surrounding deserts. Because Israel irrigates. And so it's green. And the surrounding areas are brown. You can see that from space. Another border, which you can see from space at night, is, of course, North and South Korea, right there. And that's punched up. I mean, if you're in the dead of night, you don't know the difference between the ocean and the land as your sight line crosses North and South Korea. And so, and if you look at the GDP per capita differences between Israel and surrounding nations and South Korea and North Korea, it's factors of 8, 9, 10, 12. So space can reveal economic inequities in at least those two places, which is itself kind of a stunning fact. So I want to tell Elon, you're now neighbors with him, right? Get him back here and say, Elon, build a bus, a space bus. We have an Airbus, why not a space bus? A space bus where you put all the warring leaders and have them send them to the moon, have them look back on Earth. Say, we're fighting over that border. All right,
Once they came back down, I think they'd just go right back to work.
You think so?
I just went to the Keck Observatory on Wednesday.
Nice.
It was
Hawaii.
amazing. Yeah.
Big island. Very nice. Did you go to the base camp or all the way to the top?
The base camp.
Yeah.
I went specifically there because I had an experience there about 17 years ago. I went there and I caught it on the perfect night where the moon wasn't out and it was phenomenal. And the view is so astounding. There's so many stars. You see the Milky Way in such clear detail that you have a totally different perspective of the cosmos. And you feel
it's
like
sad.
you're flying through space with a windshield over your head, like you're in a spaceship.
There's some other, my entire PhD thesis involved mountain going. It's a lost ritual because now we'd have what's called service observing. You just write in what things you want to observe or what nights for how many hours, and then they send you back the data. There used to be a pilgrimage to the top of the mountain, and you would turn on, and you would go to and be up all night with the telescope and the universe.
Yeah.
There's a certain almost spiritual connectivity that brings upon you when it's just you alone. And there are moments, the mountains are high up enough so that if clouds roll in, you're above the clouds.
We were above the clouds.
You're above the clouds.
Yeah.
This is what makes it especially spooky, magical, mystical Mount Olympus-like. Because you're on the top, there's no other land. It's just clouds. So it's you, the tops of clouds, and the universe.
Yeah.
Communing with the cosmos.
Just
And-
the view of it is so astounding.
And many people who go to Australia say, "Oh, you got to see the southern skies." What they don't know when they say that is any clear sky anywhere in the world will get you that.
Yeah.
In the southern hemisphere, only 15% of humans live there. So there's essentially no light pollution anywhere there. 85% of
Oh,
all
come
humans
on,
in the
you
north,
stupid fucking game.
you're
Fuck you.
hard-pressed to find a completely dark sky in the north, leaving you to think that there's something magically beautiful and different about the southern sky. You're observing the northern sky. Hawaii's like 15 degrees north, but so it's a lot of the southern sky as well. Point is, you have the best observing site in the world, which is why they wanted to put a 30-meter telescope there, and there's some conflict with the indigenous groups regarding that.
Yeah.
And whether the
Those are
mountain
good
is
stairs.
sacred and in what ways it's sacred.
Kind of
and the like.
kind of
So
wide
it's still
because I was
going
looking
on,
up,
last
but
I checked.
whatever.
But
It's not it.
I'm not surprised, and I'm delighted that you had that experience. And now you know how I feel when I look up.
Yeah.
I was baptized emotionally, psychologically baptized with the night sky in New York City's Hayden Planetarium. Because as a city kid, I grew up in the Bronx. We don't have a relationship with the night sky.
Right.
You know, we might see the moon and an occasional planet, the setting sun. That's it. You look up,
dots,
that's
just
it.
dots.
That's it. You see the tall buildings. You
Yeah.
see, back then there was air pollution, light pollution. So my first night sky was the Hayden Planetarium. To this day, that was when I was 9 years old. To this day, when I go to mountaintops, just as you experience, and I look up, I said to myself, "This is so beautiful." It reminds me of the Hayden Planetarium. I know that's messed up, but
it's
that's
not.
how I feel. And your
What?
sky, you got a sky here for New Year's,
Yeah.
and
We
I'm
got
loving it,
shooting
man.
stars.
I'm loving it.
Yeah. The view that I saw on Wednesday was not as good as the view that I saw, whatever it was, 16, 17
Wait, who
years
laid
ago.
out these stars?
Oh, it's just, there's
You didn't
LED panels.
Call me. You didn't
No, they're
call
not
me on
accurate.
this
They're
one.
just little
Dude.
dots.
Dude. At least you have stuff.
In my old
This is-
pool
this
in
is-
California, I had the star system of where, I was born in August. So it's the constellation
When you were
Leo.
born?
Yeah, when I was born.
Okay.
Embedded into the ground of the pool.
All right. There you go.
Alleged. You know, if they're asking me to verify it, I'm like, wow, looks like stars. But that view of the Keck Observatory, just even from the base station, it's so stunning that it does reset your understanding of where we are, and it makes you angry that we have so much light pollution that people are denied that, because I think it changes the way people view our relationship with the cosmos.
In fact, it goes even deeper than that. But let me quickly comment that there is an entire indigenous community in the world that is very concerned about the loss of very dark night skies. Because so much of the culture relates to that night sky as part of what it values and what it passes down from one generation to the next. And it goes beyond just the light pollution. Because now, folks like your boy Elon is launching, and I don't like the fact that they use the word constellation to refer to satellites. That's not people's word. Constellations are actual stars, not moving hardware. No, we got people talking to people. I got people. No, we're friends. No, we're friends.
Using the wrong words.
I feel completely at home speaking to. He's on the spectrum a bit. I'd say 1 out of 6 of my colleagues is probably on the autism spectrum. In retrospect, now that I look at it, once you learn what the spectrum is, it used to be Asperger's, and then they folded that in. Their colleagues.
Oh, that was a good stairs.
Just
Might be pace.
would not relate to another.
I think the
person
gate
or
was
have
slow,
it
though.
Graded in their lab and in their things, and so you say you're just not socialized.
And was
No,
bad.
there's something else going
Can I ask you a question about that?
Oh, sure.
Do you think that that is an evolutionary advantage, that in some way people are developing in this manner so that they can concentrate on things like technology, like astrophysics, like these very specific things that require immense amounts of concentration and extreme focus? Do you think there's possibly that human beings are developing in that way, specifically to accentuate
Cloudless.
our ability
Terrible
to
line.
innovate?
So it would be very hard to draw that conclusion as some kind of modern force of evolution, because for that to be the case, what would have to happen is those who had this sort of autistic level of focus, so high-functioning autism, they would have to be making more babies than other people.
Well, Elon is.
That's
He's out there doing
got
his
9
part.
kids, got it, yeah. So they'd have to be making more babies
Yeah.
relative to everyone else to
Yes.
affect the evolutionary path of modern civilization.
Yes.
And it's not clear that that's what's actually happening. So we have to ask, did that have any value historically? I mean, in the history of the evolution of our species. So in the chapter Body and Mind, I go over the variations that exist within our species. Huge variations in height, weight, in speed, in
Oh, I was so
all
far away
kinds of
from shooting
things.
that lock.
And you can ask, well, then what is normal? The day that we control the genome, is there going to be some place somewhere where there's a normal human and you're going to take your genome that you're about to control in your unborn child and say, let me adjust it so that it matches this, so that all your senses are working as they're supposed to, and all the proportions? Is that the future? We should ask that.
Yeah.
Because if that's what you're going to do, you're going to homogenize the species.
Yes.
Okay? You realize I have a run here of content. I have a run of descriptions of what people have accomplished. Okay? All right, so for example, there's a guy growing up, he wanted to play basketball. Okay? And he wanted to be a professional basketball player. Right? So he worked really hard at it. And he just wasn't tall enough. So he says, you should give it up, take on some good pieces. Stay with it. Stay with it. He said, no, this is basketball is for tall people. You're not tall. Okay? He now plays for the Harlem Globetrotters. His name is Hotshot. What's his last name?
Well, Muggsy Bogues is a great example.
Well, no, but this guy is 4'5". Yes, he's a genetic dwarf. People told him he can't play basketball, and now he's one of the most popular basketball players. There he goes. Okay? Swanson, Hotshot Swanson. Okay?
Well, there kind of
my
seems like
point
there'd
is,
be an advantage
all I'm
of being
saying
that
is-
small, so you can move around that.
I'm making a different point. Yes, that's part of the point.
Right.
The point is, when you look at someone and they're not, quote, normal, and then you start listing what you think they should not do in life. Constraining the options that maybe they have ambitions that are greater than anything you imagined.
Right.
And so, there's a letter, beautifully written, of someone took a voyage on a steamship in 1915, and I reproduced the letter in here, beautifully written. And this passenger was given a tour of their steamship, okay, by the captain. And this letter, I can't find it in here, but it's beautifully. I mean, is there time for me to read something?
Sure.
Can I do
You
it?
have plenty of time.
I gotta read it. Hold
We
on
have
here.
all the time in the
Give me
world.
a second here. And talk among yourselves. What? G. Okay. Here's a letter.
Like what? So dumb. It's so
Again, this is in
dumb.
the body and mind chapter, where we explore. Here it is. So I had the wrong year. How about a letter written on April 10th, 1930, to Captain von Beck of the U.S. Line's SS President Roosevelt? That's Teddy Roosevelt, of course. The captain had given a tour of the bridge to a passenger who later that day waxed poetic about the experience. Again, I stood with the captain on the bridge, and he was quiet and composed in the presence of a million universes. A man with the power of a god. In imagination, I saw the captain standing on the bridge, gazing into the wide canopied heavens and seeing the darkness sprinkled with stars and systems and galaxies. That passenger was Helen Keller, a 1904 graduate of Radcliffe College. So what my point is, and I have there's a whole run of pages of things, and there's a whole description of Hotshot here, okay, from the Harlem Globetrotters. My point is, the moment you homogenize, normalize who and what humans should be, you have cut off so much of what has enriched civilization simply because people were different.
Yes.
Simply because.
Yeah.
And so, if everybody's the same, what kind of world? I don't want to live in that world. Give me a different world.
Do you worry that...
I got another one here. One more, okay? Okay? You probably know this, but those who don't know the name, hold off on it, okay? Here it is. Jim Abbott. You know who Jim Abbott is? Okay. Some people won't, but here it goes. Jim Abbott wanted his whole life to be a professional baseball player, a dream shared by many American boys. Jim wanted to be a pitcher in the major leagues. He succeeded and played for many teams, chalking up a mixed record of wins and losses. But on September 4th, 1993, while playing for the storied New York Yankees, dude,
I thought it was the Mets.
no,
I'm not a big
he pitched a
baseball fan.
no-hitter. That's when no batter gets a hit in the entire game. There have been about 320 no-hitters in Major League history out of 220,000 games played. Due to a congenital birth defect, Jim Abbott was born without a right hand. Is Jim Abbott disabled? Is he? He pitched a fucking no-hitter for the New York Yankees. What I'm saying is, obviously not everyone who has a disability will achieve this way.
Yes.
I don't want to, don't get me wrong here, but what I want to say is, look at what people would have told, and I have 6 other examples here, one right after another. What people would have told them coming up. And Temple Grandin among them. Right? Probably the most famous autistic person there ever was. She's professor of farming at, was it the University of Colorado, somewhere in the West, where because she sees the world the way animals do, she could advise farmers in ways they can handle and herd cows that does not create stress in them. She figures stuff out. She has research papers.
Yeah.
But you're gonna say, oh, she's not the life of the party? Get her out of here? What are we doing?
Can I give you an
as human
example, a
beings?
personal example?
What the hell? And so I was angry writing that chapter. I was angry. One more. I gotta go. Good. Let me keep. Okay.
Let me give you a personal
Go.
example. My jiu-jitsu instructor,
Yes.
Jean-Jacques Machado,
Yes.
was born with, on his left hand, he only has a thumb. He is a genetic defect where he has no fingers on his left hand.
Call it a genetic feature.
A genetic feature. Well,
See,
in
you're
him,
value judging.
it is a
Okay.
feature because he's a multiple-time world champion.
There it
and
is.
because of the fact that he was born with his one hand that didn't have fingers, he developed a style of jiu-jitsu that enabled him, you see his hand there? And he's one of the absolute best that's ever done it. And he developed a style of jiu-jitsu where he utilizes that left hand to get under chins because it's not encumbered by
The other fingers aren't in the way.
fingers. And he slides it in there and sinks rear naked chokes on people. And he also developed a style that didn't rely on grips. He developed a style that's overhooks and underhooks, which became modern no-gi jiu-jitsu, which is incorporated in mixed martial arts because in mixed martial arts they don't wear the kimono.
And people who have fingers probably would have never even thought to think that way.
And people who saw Jean-Jacques Machado as a child said, oh, this poor child, he will never reach his full potential, and turned out to be one of the greatest ever.
Got here. So, Oliver Sacks was a noted neurologist, pioneering entire subfields within his profession. He was also a best-selling author, describing the human brain as the most incredible thing in the universe. He led a remarkably varied life while suffering from a neurological affliction called prosopagnosia, more commonly known as face blindness. This condition contributed to his severe shyness, since he couldn't recognize faces, even if he recognized everything else about you. At times, he would not even recognize his own face in the mirror. And he's shy because if he's interested in
How does that
if he has a
work?
love interest, he doesn't know the next time he sees that person whether that was who he had the conversation with. Okay? In 2012, after a lecture on hallucination at Cooper Union College in New York City, I asked him, if you could go back in time, would you take a magic pill in your youth? to cure your neurological disorder? Without hesitation, he replied, no. His entire professional interest in human life is inspired by the very disorders in his own brain. He wouldn't have it any other way.
How does that work? Where they can't see faces, but they can read.
You can see faces, they just
But
don't
they just
recognize
don't-
it.
how
It
does
doesn't
that
land in any place that you recognize it. Every face, even if you've seen it before, is like a brand new face. So he'd have to recognize your voice, your vocabulary, your accents, your body gestures, this sort of thing. So
Doesn't Brad Pitt supposedly have that?
that I don't know. I don't know.
Doesn't he have?
Prosopagnosia. Yeah, I
I think that's true. I felt like he said he has some form of that.
is that what he told one girlfriend when he saw the next one? Is that what you're saying?
How dare you? Yeah, he does?
He has some variant on that.
What does it say?
Yeah, he explained that. He hasn't officially been diagnosed with it. It's extremely difficult right now.
So maybe there's a varying spectrum
Yeah,
of
of
that
course,
disorder.
as there would be in anything.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Face blindness.
Nobody would. That's a
believes
very
me.
recent article
Well,
there in this past
especially,
year.
how crazy is it? He's got one of the best faces ever. And you can't recognize his face.
Yeah. So it's so all of this you'd expect to happen on some kind of spectrum of
Yes.
severity, let's
Right.
call it, or featurity. and depending on where you are on that spectrum, you will have certain access to ways people have never thought before, ways
Yes.
people have never done things before. Have you seen the video of the woman somewhere in East Asia who has no arms? And she gets out of bed, folds up her, then
Yes.
takes care of her child, puts on her makeup with her feet.
Yeah.
With her feet.
Yeah.
And so, she puts on her makeup and puts on her coat, there's a whole video about this. And so, I don't know what else to tell you. Oh, you must know, this is my other guy here. You must know him. If not, get him on, okay? Get the dude on your show. Hang on.
150 people may have developed that Facebook. Could be genetic, but they just doesn't.
Developmental.
Yeah, it's
Interesting. But how is it that he always winds up with hot women? Come on,
He said people
Brad.
don't believe him because he's like they think it's self-absorbedness and stuff.
Yeah.
He's so famous, he meets so
Oh,
many
that's
people.
interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Here's another one. You ready?
Yes.
Matt Stutzman
I don't recognize the name.
is a championship archer
Oh, yes.
who
That's
can
exactly.
outshoot most people who have ever wielded a bow and arrow.
He's actually coached by my friend John Dudley.
In competition, by bow and arrow in competition. He's also a car enthusiast. Oh, he was born without arms.
Yes.
He shoots his arrows and fixes his cars using his uncommonly nimble legs, feet, and toes. Is Matt Stutzman disabled? All I'm here to say is, because you started this conversation asking me, on the spectrum of autism, where at some point in that spectrum, you focus like no one can focus before, possibly to the exclusion of personal hygiene and other concerns related to your health. And civilization has definitely benefited from those who have been able to focus in such a way.
Yeah.
So maybe our species and I'm just spitballing here, that our species and the advance of civilization itself has pivoted on the fact that in the variation of who, what, and what we are, some of us can focus and solve a problem like it was the most important thing we would ever do in our lives.
Yeah.
And end up doing so, thereby pivoting civilization into some future that would have not otherwise been realizable. So, yeah, I'm all there.
Yeah, I mean, the diversity of human beings and their interests and what they look like and their sizes and the way they interact with the world is one of the reasons why we can create such an amazing world. I mean, but
Consider also, and it goes beyond just this, what we call these disabled features, right? People with disabilities. It goes to other things. For example, that you must know that it was not until 1987 where the American Psychiatric Association, with some names such as that, the psychiatrists, removed homosexuality as a mental disorder from their records, from their encyclopedia. 1987, a disorder. And so, what does that even mean if, whatever the number is, 10, 20% of people or higher are on a gender spectrum as measured in the multiple dimensions that have been revealed in recent years? If you had control over the genome of your children 50 years ago, and if homosexuality has a genetic component, would you say, I don't want that, that's abnormal, because you're going to go through that list of what is normal. And you can say, I don't want any abnormalities in my children. Not at all. So there's an entire ethical frontier that is yet to be touched.
So dumb.
Yet to be resolved, I should say. Certainly there are people thinking about it.
yes.
Where, what kind of child are you going to create?
So
This is the
dumb.
question. When you have, and this is what I want to get to, when you have things like CRISPR, and you have what could be
Home
legitimate genetic engineering of fetuses and of
I'm just
embryos.
watch them in like after this run,
Yeah, legitimate implies it's.
Yeah,
and then I'm
I
gonna
mean,
come back.
like
I might play
50
another
seconds.
15 more
I mean,
minutes, and then I'm gonna sign
but
off. I
the
think.
fact that
I got me dinner.
that is an emerging technology, and that, like
Thanks for
all
being here.
technologies, it will increase in its ability with innovation, with new versions. Where do you think this goes? Do you think it's inevitable that human beings engineer ourselves into these super creatures that are homogenous? Do you think?
I think we, as has almost always been the case, the science is advancing faster than our morality
Yes.
or our sensibility.
Or appreciations of humanity.
I'll be right back.
And
Thanks.
often the scientific advance has very important plus sides to it. Here's what I want to see happen. If we can control the genome, let's just start with what already exists in nature, right? We put ourselves at the top of the tree of life, but if newts could draw the tree of life, they put themselves at the top. Why? They can regenerate their limbs. And we can't. They would value that very highly. So would we. Let's get whatever that is in the newt, splice it into us, line up all the veterans who have,
Yeah.
missing limbs, put them first. Regenerate them.
haven't they
If
done-
lobsters can do it,
Yeah.
and crabs can do it, and newts can do it,
They are doing research on that, correct?
I haven't checked it.
I believe I read.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
Well,
that
we're
they are
doing research on growing organs and
Yes.
things. There's a huge need for that.
Yes.
That you don't have to wait for someone to die.
Right.
Right. Particularly the day we have self-driving cars on the road dominating the population of cars. I see that happening within decades, by the way, and I have good reason for thinking that. But the day that happens, we lose. So no longer do 35,000 people a year die
Right.
in peak physical health, which has been a source of so many organ donors, right?
Yes.
You sign your card when you get your driver's license so that when you die in a car accident, you can harvest your organs. You're young and all your organs work. We don't harvest organs of 80-year-olds because they're 80 or 90, right?
Right.
So the day we lose the 35,000 deaths per year, I hope that happens at a time when we can start growing artificial organs.
Have you done any playing around with auto driving features on things like Teslas?
I know it's there, but I'm not ready. I'm not mentally ready.
It's pretty
to
amazing.
experiment.
Jamie and I have the latest beta
Okay.
of Tesla self-driving. Have you messed with it at all, Jamie?
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
What's your take
I
on
had
it?
someone drive me around with it in the beta.
It's not comfortable yet. Is the best I would say. Like I'm
You
not.
keep your hands on the wheel?
Yeah,
me too.
Yeah. And I haven't had to take over, but there's like one time I was like, I'm not doing this right now. I'll test it another time.
Here's what I did do in a
Like in
Tesla.
traffic.
You put it on the
Self-driving?
it's not self-driving.
Auto?
No, just the simple. What's it called? All the
Cruise
old cars had
control?
it. Yeah, cruise control. Cruise, but it's managed cruise control.
Yes.
Right. So I put it at 50 miles an hour. The traffic slows to 30. It slows to 30.
Yes.
With a prescribed car distance in front of me. Car comes to the traffic goes to a standstill. The car stops. All right. The traffic picks up. The old cars wouldn't do that, right?
Right.
So it's doing this. So
Yes.
I experiment with that, and I noticed that when it starts from a stop, or when it slows down, it's way harder on its brakes than I am.
Yes.
I'm way smoother driver than my cruise control.
Yeah.
So, and I've seen cars come in from the side, and it abruptly stops. When I saw it before it did, and so I don't know, but we're at the beginning.
Judgment.
It's dawn. It's
Yeah.
the dawn of this.
But you're recognizing patterns and judgment and whether or not someone's paying attention, or whether or not it's
All
gonna
that has
be-
to happen is that it goes into an AI learning mode, and it gets the sum of all of these experiences of all drivers in these situations. Yeah, AI is going to kill some people in self-driving mode, but I guarantee you,
It's going to kill a lot less.
it will kill fewer people
Yeah.
than than without it.
Have you seen Lex Friedman playing guitar while he's driving around a self-driving car? Yeah, Lex drove around in a Tesla while playing guitar. It's pretty fascinating.
Right. So there's a headline here, and that I'm going to read. It's a very simple headline, but where is it here? T E. Oh my gosh, where is it?
There it is. There's Lex.
Oh, here.
That's pretty good. Lex can shred. Give me some of that. You got to listen to this. Listen to this. Oh yeah, he was playing along. Here it
That's
goes.
good. It's good
Listen
stuff.
to here. Have you done Lex's podcast?
No.
You'd love him.
Oh, yeah?
He's an AI researcher from MIT originally. Now he's mostly doing independent work and doing his own podcast. And brilliant guy. You would love him. Mm-hmm. And he's got an amazing podcast too.
Okay, so here it's going to be in this section.
I don't think
here.
you're interested in Lex's podcast. Seems like so.
What do you mean? Oh, hang on. I got this.
Lex,
No, thank you for the tip.
trying to get him on, buddy.
Try to get him in.
Lex actually
Okay.
is one of the most brilliant people I know. I think you would love talking to him.
An interesting quote here from Walter Bagehot. One of the greatest pains to human nature is the pain of a new idea.
Really? That guy's an idiot. That's not the greatest pain. Someone needs to kick him in the nuts. That's a
It's
lot.
human
pain
nature.
of loss, the pain of failure. There's a lot more pains.
Actually, no,
new ideas
the
are
longer
amazing.
quote I have here, just in all fairness to the fellow, is, "It is, as common people say, so upsetting, it makes you think that, after all, your favorite notions may be wrong, your firmest beliefs ill-founded. Naturally, therefore, common men hate a new idea, and are disposed more or less to ill-treat the original man who brings it."
Oh boy. Now we're in the common man
Okay,
thing.
all right,
I don't like it.
that's 19th century.
I like that even less.
All right, here's a headline. Ready? Mm-hmm. And it's why our brain is not statistically prepared. A headline.
Okay.
Tesla says autopilot makes its car safer. Crash victims say it kills. Both of those are true.
Yeah, but less. It's sort
Yes.
of like introducing mountain lions into areas to kill deer.
Correct.
Yeah.
Both of those are true. And if you keep at it, yes, autopilot will kill, AI self-driving will kill people, but that number will drop every single year. And you know why? Because every way that someone dies, no other person will die that way again.
Yes.
Because they'll upload all the software, and that does not happen.
Yeah.
And that,
This guy's an
this
idiot.
is what the airline industry did. The FAA.
Guy's literally
This is
retarded.
every
Stick to astrophysics,
single crash.
asshole.
You know why you can't take lithium ions onto a plane? Because there was a UPS plane that had lithium ion batteries in the cargo, and it caught fire. And there's the audio of the pilots talking to each other and to the thing while the plane is on fire just before the thing crashes.
Do you remember when they used to make you take the batteries out of Samsung phones and put on planes?
I never used Samsung.
Samsung phones had an issue. One of
Okay.
their Galaxy Notes.
Oh, yeah, I remember,
They
I
would
remember.
burst into flames
I
because
remember.
they juiced up the battery capacity.
I remember it. Yeah.
Yeah, and they went a little crazy.
So all I was saying is that
They fixed that now.
part of the diversity of who and what we are is who you love.
Yeah.
What you want to look like. You know, this resistance to the gender spectrum concerns me because it's a force of restriction on people's freedom. And somewhere I read that America is like pursuit of happiness. I read that somewhere, in some document, right? And so if someone wants to dress in whatever way they want, and if it doesn't conform with your binarity, you're going to create a law to prevent them from doing it? What is that? Are we any longer in a free country? If you have that power over me to express my happiness. And another thing we're not good at. How long have we been talking here, dude?
Couple hours.
Damn. Dude.
Come on, bro. It's fun.
But I love you, man.
I love you too.
I love you, man. I love you.
Love you too, man.
People don't know we were outside wrestling a few moves. I used to wrestle, you know.
I know you used to
I was
wrestle.
like captain of my high school
You started
team.
to have a little flashback.
No! It was the third period. I was down 4 points.
Uh-oh.
And yeah.
The buzzer.
So, what's it say?
We're talking about diversity.
Oh yeah.
Talking about
Yeah. So
This is
here's
the
something.
concern.
Another thing we're bad at. We're bad at recognizing a spectrum of things when we confront it. Our urge is to categorize it. That urge is so great. We categorize things that are fundamentally not categorizable. For example, hurricane strengths. Hurricane strength is a continuum of miles per hour of wind speed. But we cut it into 5 categories. And you know what happens? That affects us.
right.
So a Hurricane Irma goes from low category 3 to high category 3. It's just category 3, Irma. It goes up 1 mile an hour, it's breaking news. Hurricane Irma strengthened to category 4 just this past hour, and everybody crowds around the TV set. So our brain doesn't allow a continuum. We can't, and so what happens? Are you a boy or are you a girl? You have to be one of, maybe there's a continuum, okay? Oh, you want to talk X chromosome, Y chromosome? We can do that, fine. All right, so biogenetically, I can say that there's a boy and a girl or some variant on that, which is in the rare case where you have doubled up on the chromosomes, yeah, intersex. Sure, we can have that conversation, but that's not visible to me in what you do when you wake up in the morning. I don't see your chromosomes. You know what I do? I see what you do to make yourself look like a boy. You go to the gym. You'd have wimp muscles if you didn't work out, okay? That's what you do, because you're a boy. You wear boy clothes so that everyone knows you're a boy. If it was that obvious you were a boy, you wouldn't have to do all of that. So much of what we do to split us into this binarity is artificially added on top of the chromosomes. So, like I said, if you're a wimpy guy you go wear man clothes and you go to the gym because you want to look like a boy. If you're a girl, you're a woman, and you have hair on your lip, can't have a mustache, you're a girl. Got hair between your eyebrows, can't have that, gotta remove that. Okay? Your breasts are not large enough, get them enlarged. As what happens to, what is the number? 300,000 breast augmentations a year in the United States? Okay? These are huge numbers to make us look more to fit into this binarity. And suppose I don't buy into that binarity. I say, I like the spectrum. Someday I feel a little feminine. Sometimes I feel, I'm going to wear clothes that way. You're going to come after me and say, I don't like that. I'm going to pass a law. Oh my gosh, that's no longer a free country.
Is anybody saying
Fucking
there's
idiot.
a law that men can't wear whatever they want or women
Stupid
can't wear
guard.
whatever they want? No one's really
There's
trying to
forces of resistance in society that are strongly preventing it. Yes.
Really? Well, I think that's unfortunate. But
And
coming
by the way,
back
some
to
solutions
this,
like which bathroom do you use? There's
Yeah.
solutions there.
Yeah.
Just make unisex bathrooms.
Yeah.
And every new restaurant in New York City is that. So that takes an entire category of
Yeah.
people's worries and concerns off the table.
I feel
when
so
we're
bad for
talking
women
about genetic engineering,
that have to use a unisex bathroom where a man has been in there before. Men are so terribly
And I didn't
disgusting in
even get
bathrooms.
to color
Like
and
they're
race.
fucking worse than
my gosh.
animals.
Just before I go, I want to read a quick thing from that section. But go on. No, finish what you're point.
Every public bathroom I
my wonder
use,
is, like, where
I leave it,
if you
like
try
I
to
exit
look
it
at
and
what
it's
human beings
like
are
a
capable
1,000
of
times
doing now
cleaner.
in terms of genetic
And
engineering,
I don't
and
even
what
do
the
anything.
hopes
It's
are.
just that
Where do you think this leads us if this is
the general
allowed?
man is
It's not
literally a piece
whether
of
or not
crap.
it's going to be allowed. It's going to happen. Where do you think this leads us
Like
to?
literally.
Do you think this leads? When you look at this is
Like
when you
feces.
look at the archetypal.
Did I clean up?
What is it? It's got a large head and this no sex organs.
And they never have hair. I want a
No
hairy
muscle.
alien one day.
A hairy
with a hairdo.
Right. Yeah, right.
They're always bald, big eyes.
1970 afro.
Yeah.
What do you think that leads us to? Do you think that leads us to like one uniform shape? Or do you think it leads us to everyone looking like Thor? Like, where does that lead us to?
Yeah, but of course,
Come
the Thor
on,
still have to go
man.
to
Like,
the
come
gym.
on.
So,
But what if there comes a point in time where
sorry,
that's not
the actor who
necessary?
plays Thor still had to go to the gym.
Right, well, with things like biostatin inhibitors, you aware of those?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if they incorporate that into the human genome, then you're going to have people that have incredible amounts of muscle mass, and they don't even have to do anything to achieve it.
But what you would have done was, as a parent or as someone in control, predetermine what they can or should be in life.
Right.
Whereas in a free world, in a free society, a person's own ambitions should be what guides them.
Certainly.
In my opinion. And I don't
certainly.
think that's a controversial opinion.
Certainly, I agree with you.
So-
but my concern is,
Yeah,
if
it's a
the
real concern. Oh,
and
yeah.
if the technology gets to the point where it's a uniform strategy, and that people just start doing that to their children, we're talking 100 years from now, 1,000 years from
Oh,
now.
way sooner than that. 50
right,
years
where does
easily.
Where does this go?
Easily 50 years. Yeah, so you want to have the muscle-bound family, but suppose one of them wanted to be a ballet dancer and had to be a little more lanky and
What
motor.
if we get to a point where genetic engineering could be utilized on fully formed adults? And you could change the shape of, like, you know, there's people that are transgender. What if you could literally become a double X chromosome human being, and you will literally have a vagina, literally have breasts, ovulate, have
Yeah,
a
I don't know
womb.
how that would, I have to think about how that would happen.
Well,
That'd be like an extreme
Right,
limit of
an evolution of
controlling,
technology.
your genomes. Yeah, so that's a really interesting, different world. It means you can be whoever you want.
Right.
That's what we are on Halloween, right? You're
What
whoever
are
you
your
want to be.
thoughts on human neural interfaces, like things like Neuralink and these technologies that are being proposed that would allow
Yeah.
human beings to integrate with technology in a physical way, symbiotically?
Yeah, so I have a chapter in here called Exploration and Discovery, where we talk about the rapid pace of technology and its impact on civilization, which is extraordinary. But most predictions are wrong. You get it right in the first few years, and after a few decades,
But with new technology, new possibilities emerge that couldn't even be
in
anticipated.
fact, it comes in from the side
Yeah.
rather than
Like the internet.
more of what. Correct. It reminds me of there was an ad in 1992, 1993, early 90s from AT&T. They had a relatively successful ad campaign where they said, have you ever wanted to da-di-da-di-da-di-da-di-da, and then say some futuristic thing, and they say, you will, AT&T will bring it to you.
Yeah,
Okay?
I've seen that.
One of the things, one of the commercials was something I've never wanted to do, never dreamed of doing, never did, and never will do. They show a guy on a beach, okay?
Pretty fast, but it's not
Working
it.
on a tablet, which was a good predictive thing. Tablets did count. He's looking at a tablet and said, have you, and there's a surf coming in, it was a beautiful beach scene. He said, have you ever wanted to send a fax from the beach? Well, you will. AT&T was like, no, thank you.
Thanks,
no
man.
one has ever in the history of the universe.
I'm
wanted
gonna
to-
sign off in
So
15 minutes, though.
If that was all that existed.
I'm gonna eat dinner with
I'm
my
just saying,
folks
But now
and
it's
sign
email.
off.
It's the same
No, it's
thing.
email attachment.
I might play
No,
after,
you
but
don't see that coming if you're extolling the virtues of faxes.
I don't know.
That's like
I'll have to see.
in Back to the Future Part 2. A film made in 1989, we're riding high in faxes, the 89 to the early 90s. Do you know what year that took place? Was supposed to take place? Back to the Future 2.
It's like modern.
Yeah,
Like,
2015.
Yeah.
Okay? So Marty pisses off his boss and he gets fired.
Yeah.
All right, so the boss communicates this via fax to his residents. Okay, except this is the residents of the future. He has 3 fax machines in his home. So you see they come out on 3 different fax machines. And no matter what room he was in, he would see it. Because that's the home of the future.
Yeah.
Because a modern home in 1989 with 1 fax machine, many homes had no fax machines. So this is how we're linear thinking people. And there,
You're on fire.
there are 3 different 4 fax machines.
That's the future.
There it is.
That's what they thought. Isn't that funny? Oh, no.
The future.
Wow.
And so I talk about here how we also have linear brains, which prevents us from seeing exponential change.
Yes.
And the best example of this is algae on a pond. Okay? So algae, as it grows and it floats on the pond, you see like one
Can I
square
play
foot
after? I don't know.
and you learn. Someone tells
What
you
am I eating? I don't know.
the algae is doubling every day.
I'll have to see. I'm really blessed. I'm with my parents, but
Pond.
they're making dinner
You're
for me. I'm
told
really
this,
lucky.
Okay? You go away for a month and come back, the pond is half covered.
Thanks. I appreciate it, though.
You say, oh my gosh.
I don't know if I'm gonna play
Wait
after,
for a month
honestly.
when this happened. When will it be completely covered? So what's the
A
answer?
gun.
Took a month to get halfway. So how much
Oh,
more
gum.
time?
Yeah, chewing gum. Yeah.
No, a day. What did I say?
Doubles.
It doubles every day.
Yes.
That's how I started this conversation.
Yes.
See, the linear brain overrides even the stated facts.
And you know how they deal with that? They introduced carp.
Right, good. I didn't know that.
Carp eat all the algae.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but then the problem is they eat all the vegetation, and you get like Lake Austin.
Oh,
There's
yeah, it's
almost
just
no
it's a dead-
vegetation,
a
and all the
dead lake.
bass have no place to hide.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, Lake Austin looks like the bottom of the swimming pool now.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a mistake. Whoops.
Yeah, you think you know all the causes and effects of things, and then you don't.
Well, when I was on the Big Island, when I found out about mongooses.
Big Island, Hawaii, yeah.
When I was there
My
for
Can we call
fucking
them
hate this.
mongoose? Is that allowed?
they're so adorable.
Dentine.
We saw one at the resort, a mongoose, cute little fella.
Wait, Hawaii has no snakes. So what did the mongoose eat?
Unfortunately, they brought them in for rats, and they went after ground nesting birds, and so they've devastated local wildlife.
There it is.
Yeah, so
When you're
this
an
is-
island in the middle of the Pacific, that stuff is pretty tightly configured.
Those little fellas are so cute.
Yeah.
Okay, the mongooses found in Hawaii are native to India. Were introduced to Hawaiian Islands in 1883 by the sugar industry to control rats in sugarcane fields.
Any species in Hawaii is going to be invasive. They're like-
Yes. But then it gets to a point where people are making the argument that wild pigs are no longer invasive because they've been there as long as the humans have.
yeah. So it's only a problem when it's a problem.
Yeah.
Is really what that comes down to.
Right.
Right. I'm told that L.A. palm trees are not native.
Right, they're not.
Yeah, but they
they're
do
from
really
Hawaii.
well there, and then it
Yeah.
haven't overrun the city. Or,
Well, also they're like symbolic
Yeah.
of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
The palm tree.
Yeah, you got it.
They're everywhere.
Okay, so I make a prediction by the year 250. I have a bunch of predictions here.
Okay, let's hear it.
And this is so that into 2050 you can say, Tyson, you had your head up your ass. Okay, I have no hesitation because I go through a whole set of predictions that all didn't come out right. People predicting 30 years ahead, and so I just want to join the susceptibility.
Okay,
parade
maybe you'll
here.
nail a few.
Neuroscience and our understanding of the human mind will become so advanced that mental illness will be cured, leaving psychologists and psychiatrists without jobs. In a shift that echoes the rapid conversion from horses to automobiles in the early 20th century, self-driving electric vehicles will fully replace all cars and trucks on the road. If you want to be nostalgic with your fancy combustion engine sports car, you can drive on specially designed tracks, akin to horse riding stables of today. Very nostalgic. The human space program will fully transition to a space industry supported not by tax dollars, but by tourism and anything else people dream of doing in space. We developed a perfect antiviral serum and cure cancer. Medicines will tailor to your own DNA, leaving no adverse side effects. And this is in response to your earlier question, we will resist the urge to merge the circuitry of computers with the circuitry of our brains.
Have you ever seen?
I'm happy enough to just dig it up here. No, I don't need to surgically implant this. I'm seconds away from all the knowledge of the world that I could possibly want. I don't have to surgically implant it. I don't have that urge, I'm sorry.
Right, but if they do increase the capacity for human knowledge and your access to information substantially to the point where someone with the neural interface has an enormous advantage.
Well, they'll do it
over
faster
anybody who
perhaps,
doesn't.
but I don't...
But not just faster, but change the
That
way you
remains to be seen.
interface with information.
That remains to be seen. And of course, our guy says that,
Yeah,
Mr.
Elon.
Singularity. No.
Oh, Ray Kurzweil?
Ray Kurzweil, right,
Yeah.
right. He's a big fan of that. He has a new book where it's the singularity is near Earth. His first book was the singularity was near.
What a prediction.
We will learn how to regrow lost limbs and failing organs, bringing us up to the level of other regenerating animals on Earth, like salamanders, starfish, and lobsters. Instead of becoming our overlord and enslaving us all, artificial intelligence will be just another helpful feature of the tech infrastructures that serve our daily lives. Those are my predictions to be found wrong.
Do you have any fears of artificial
No.
general intelligence?
No,
Not at all?
I don't think that's where it's going to head.
That's so
Neither does
dumb.
Kurzweil, by the way.
Do you
I think
believe...
we'll put intelligence in things.
Neil
that
deGrasse Tyson is so dumb.
Get the perfect cup of coffee. Put it in your car.
So ignorant,
it drives
man.
and doesn't get
So
into an accident.
egotistically ignorant.
Things. To have the one thing that does it all,
I would love to hear you talk to Elon about this, because he has a deep fear of it.
Yeah, I'm anomalous there, so don't listen to me. Listen to others.
You're anomalous in the fact that you're not concerned?
Yes.
Yeah.
If you go to AI experts, most of them are concerned that it poses an existential threat. I think it'll just be more stuff that'll help us out.
But what about when it's used in military applications?
Well, then it's an ethical. I mean, all military operations involve some ethical decision.
This might be it.
Right.
So it would be added to the ethical.
It might be
But
it.
when you have unethical foreign countries that will use these sort of
Well, that's
artificial general...
anti-tank warfare, so you need ways to combat that. It'll
Yeah.
escalate. Yeah.
Once
By the way,
it
the
gets
countries have
live.
ministers of AI. We don't.
Yeah.
We're behind on that curve. I'm worried. Worried
Yeah.
about that.
That's the concern, right? The concern is that someone else is going to implement it,
Yeah.
and they're not going to have ethics or morals. They're just going to have this idea of control and dominance.
Correct. And so there's always the bad actor
Yeah.
that you've got to. And the military, they're paid to consider
And the real
the
concern
conduct
Fucking
of a bad
terrible.
actor.
is that we become them to beat them. That's the fear.
Yeah.
It's like
Except we're not autocratic. Or we don't think we are.
It's just so terrible.
We would have to get an entire Congress, an entire electorate to vote that way.
yeah.
And that's, if we do, I don't know what the future of the world will
It's
be
spooky.
at that point. It's spooky.
It's spooky because,
spooky.
again, that we don't have the ability to sort of extrapolate and look at the future in terms of like how all these things are implemented and
Right.
what the overall result is going to be. So you're not worried about these human neural interfaces at all? You don't
No, I
see
don't
that
see
as
it
being.
happening. I just
You don't
don't
see it happening at all?
No, I think we'll resist it. I think it'll.
But didn't we? There's a lot of people that resisted email. Like, "Oh, you love email, man." But those people all got on board. A
Yeah,
lot of
and people used to
resisted
print their
cell
email.
phones.
Remember that? And they print it and
Yeah. But a lot of people resisted this idea of cell phones, but now they're everywhere.
no. The only resistance I'm referring about is the machine biology interface.
Right.
That's what we're going to resist.
but-
We're not going to resist the continuing advance
But
of
if it
technology.
creates a superior human being,
It already has. It beats us at chess, at Go, at any intellectual task we give it.
But
It's
I
already
mean,
superior.
If it's a symbiotic thing, if it becomes integrated with the human biology,
I think we'll resist it. That's all. It's a prediction
I
that
think
we
you
can.
will. I'm gonna hop on board right away. I'm gonna be one of the first people. I'm gonna drill a hole in my head.
Okay, like 7 or 5 more minutes.
I don't want to be left behind.
Then I'm gonna sign off.
Real
Thank you for
concern
being
is
here.
It's really going to separate the haves from the have-nots, because if it does give you an advantage economically, an advantage in terms of your intellectual capacity, you're going to have this advantage.
hate
It's
this
gonna be
stupid fucking
prohibitively
level.
Expensive, I would assume initially.
Often things that are prohibitively expensive initially don't forever stay that way.
Right, like cell phones.
Of course.
But eventually it becomes.
Or flat panel TVs.
Sure.
They're like impulse items at Kmart.
I was
right?
just at Walmart. I can't believe how cheap they are now.
50-inch TV.
It's
yeah.
nuts.
Yes, it's nuts.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
They were
Used to be-
so expensive.
I remember, and heavy.
Like 20 grand.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tens of thousands of
Yeah.
dollars. And they come in like wood crates.
Yep. And
You
now
have to
you
like,
can,
you needed power tools
you
to
can
undo
do
it.
it yourself and mount them yourself on the wall.
Let me leave you with some thoughts here.
Okay. Please do.
There's a section here on race and color, which is another thing with the variation of what we have in the world.
So
Just a
dumb, man.
point I want to make. When European anthropologists started running through Africa and started describing what they saw, their urge was to say, everyone in Africa is this thing, and they have dark skin, woolly hair, and that is a thing. And they called it a race, and they called it the Negroes. Okay? And this is our attempt to classify into few categories something that might actually, in real life, be on the spectrum. We know that the human species began in Africa. And everybody who populates everywhere else in the world came out of Africa to do that. What that tells you is that the genetic diversity within Africa as the origin of our species is greater than it is between any other two people anywhere else in the world. But because the anthropologists were not thinking genetic diversity, they're thinking skin color. They put them all in one bin. But if you have the most genetic diversity, then in practically every way humans vary, you would find the extreme of that in the African continent. Where would you find the tallest people in the world? Watusi tribe of Africa. How about the shortest people in the world?
Pygmies.
The pygmies. Not even that far away.
Right.
Geographically. They have the same skin color, so the
It's
Europeans
not
said
it.
these are one group of people, one race. Where might you find the slowest people in the world? Well, no one looks for them. Where would you find, there's no races to find the slowest people. How about the fastest people? Africa. Okay? People of African descent have dominated the long distance as well as the sprint. Two completely different physical abilities. Oh, but they're all dark-skinned people, they're all Negroes. Okay? Where would you likely find the dumbest person in the world? Africa. How about the smartest person in the world? Africa.
How about the Egyptians?
The
From
Europeans did not look for people smarter than they were. Okay? And to this day, where they find evidence where that might have been the case, you have people saying aliens did it. Egypt is, of course, in Africa.
Yeah.
A brilliant civilization. Oh my gosh. While Europeans were still either disemboweling heretics or whatever the hell they were doing, even before that, thousands of years ago.
What is he even talking about? They
my
built
point is,
Europe has the most
if you don't
insane
look for it,
churches in the
and you don't
world,
find it, and you're going to create a map of humans of the world,
other than
you're
like
gonna put yourself
Ethiopia.
at the top. That's what you're going to do. And you're going to write things like this. Who do you want to hear from? Thomas Jefferson or Francis Galton?
Jefferson.
Jefferson.
Okay, like 2 more runs and I'm gonna sign off. Thank you
1785.
for being here. I really
Speaking
appreciate
of
it.
the Negroes. Comparing them by their faculties of memory, reason, and imagination, it appears to me that in memory, they are equal to us. In reason, much inferior. As I think one could scarcely be found capable of tracing and comprehending the investigations of Euclid. And in imagination, they are dull, tasteless, and anomalous.
What is Euclid?
I honestly don't know how many Euclid-fluent white people Jefferson knew in the original American colonies. Euclid invented geometry. Okay, Euclidean geometry. This ancient
All right, probably last run.
and his books still exist to this day. So he's saying the black slaves don't know Euclid, can't figure out Euclid.
Well, they haven't been educated.
Well, regardless,
whole
how
thing's
many
so
how many white farmers in 1785 USA
Also.
knew Euclid?
Yeah.
No. Okay. Okay. But whatever were his observations and objections to black people, he had no hesitation continually mating with at least one of them, producing 6 children. So you know what I did here? Then there's a
All right,
guy
one more
who wrote
after
a
this
book
one.
comparing black people and white people, a book that was used into the 1960s. It was called The Origin of Races by Carlton Toon. He wrote, if Africa was the cradle of mankind, which he recognizes, it was only an indifferent kindergarten. Europe and Asia were our principal schools. So these are people putting themselves at the top. He's white, so he's got to put white people at the top. Then I thought, suppose anthropologists were black racists instead of white racists. What would they write? What would they come up with?
Well, also what he's saying is ridiculous because if it's kindergarten, how did they do the pyramids? It's the most complex structures ever known to man.
Hold on. So
And we can't reproduce today.
no.
All of us.
My only point is, when you have that mindset and you have to put yourself at the top, and all people with dark skin are one entity, you're not looking for people smarter than you. You're not. There's other evidence here that. Do you realize that the people who get the highest scores on standardized tests?
Oh, come
in
on, that
England
was it.
Are people immigrants
Oh.
from the Igbo tribe in Nigeria? And
All right, this is the
these
last
are-
one.
Their kids outscore all the quote native white people in the town. If you're not looking for them, you're not finding them. It just doesn't. It's a thing. It's all here in this chapter, and all I'm doing is bringing science to it. That's all I'm doing here. And where is it? Okay. So the black. Yeah. Then I gotta go. I'm staying here, dude.
It's okay. You can come back.
It's too dumb.
There's a lot of little stickies on that book. I'm sure you have many other things to talk about. What is the book, by the way?
Oh. Starry
No.
Messenger.
Okay. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. I really do.
Cosmic Perspectives.
Is it out
on
currently?
Civilization. Came out 8 weeks ago.
Please tell me you did the audio version of it.
I did.
Thank you.
I did.
I hate when people have other people do the
Oh,
audio.
yeah. I did the audio version.
Of course, you'd have to.
I could not do the
How?
audio version
Yeah.
of
Some
this.
fucking actor.
I talk about the pyramids here. Even Elon Musk, by the way, tweeted pyramids. Aliens built the pyramids, obviously.
Elon says
Elon
that?
said
Well, I
that.
think he was joking around.
Well, possibly, but he said it, and it's in a.
You know, Elon likes to joke around about shit.
Here's one. On May 1st, 2021, a talented chess player reached the title of National Master for having achieved a U.S. Chess Federation rating above 2,200, landing among the top 4% of 350,000 rated players in the world. A rating achieved that was 500 points higher than that of his chess coach, just a few years after learning how to play the game. That prodigy is a 10-year-old boy named Tani Talua Adewumi, the son of Nigerian refugees to the USA in 2017. His family spent a brief time